Hey everyone, Muse here. Happy holidays. Thank you so much for checking out the 10th episode of Owen and Detox. But I do want to give you a little heads up before we get started here. Throughout the recording, you're going to hear some digital skipping, like glitching throughout. I tried to edit out as many of them as I could, but some of them were in the middle of sentences and were unavoidable in that way. But I'm going to look into it, and I hope to have it fixed before the next episode. I hope it's not too distracting. Thank you again for checking us out. Now enjoy the show. Owen and Detox time again, episode 10. Can you believe it?
Can you believe it? It feels like it's probably been, I feel like it's only been like 4 episodes.
Right? Because we've been cramming them into such a short amount of time. We've only been doing the show for a couple months.
Yeah.
And amazingly been able to get 10 episodes. And there's still a good bit of stuff left to cover. So honestly, like, this might last us a good bit.
It is like the podcasts they've done are like a living document, and that they're forever changing and updating.
That is true. Yeah. Things we thought we knew might alter with new episodes that come out and stuff like that. But for episode 10, I wanted to do something special. And
for the holiday season?
For the holiday season. Didoop, didoop, dippity dop. Something about the mood is right.
No. The moon is right.
The moon is right. So, there is an episode that for people who have been paying any attention to Anthony for the past couple of years, this is kind of notorious. And I think I may have shown you clips back when this shit first happened, but there is no way you remember it because you didn't give a fuck about it then.
Yeah.
You barely give a shit about it now.
Yeah. So it's like, you could tell me something, you told me the episode 1 of this, and I'd be like, really?
Well, good thing there's a good bit of reiteration and stuff coming back up and repetition. So, we're not in modern day, we're not in 2022, but we're not in WNEW New York 1990s anymore.
We're in the Middle Ages.
We are, well, more towards this side. We're going to start in 2016, we're going to end in 2018, but this is what I want to refer to as the Ron Bennington saga. For those who don't know who Ron Bennington is, he's one half of the Ron and Fez Show, which started out in Florida and then moved up to New York and was on WNEW, and I think starting in 2000. So Ron and Anthony have known each other over 20 years. But what's more interesting is what brings all this on. In that Ron just doesn't show up. Ron is there for what I think very specific reasons. It feels like Ron is making house calls. And we'll explain that here in a second.
I'm sitting here like, how, what?
You'll see. Because first I want to rewind a little bit back to 2014, shortly before Anthony was fired from his SiriusXM job for the infamous tweets.
Yeah.
In 2014, Mindy Kaling of The Office and all that was a guest on the O&A show. Danny Brand, a girl in her 20s, came into the studio to watch the interview since she was a big fan of Mindy. There was a time where they would have the glass windows out in front of the studio so fans could sit out and watch the show happen sometimes, watch people be interviewed, or just see how the show goes on.
Like Good Morning Americas.
Pretty much, yeah. We'll see if anyone flashes. In his book, Anthony describes Danny as being like a little sister to Jim Norton and is the daughter of the owner of the Stress Factory Comedy Club in New York. He also mentions that the first time he met Danny was when she was in high school.
Jim?
Anthony.
Anthony.
So Anthony has known this girl, Danny, since she was in high school, but now sees her outside the studio for the Mindy Kaling interview, and they exchange some glances during the interview throughout the window, and they end up going out to get drinks later after the show.
How old is she at that point?
She's in her 20s.
Okay.
Fast forward to 2016, she's 26, so she'd be 24 at the time.
And he's like 80?
He's 52.
Oh.
Yeah.
Former Opie and Anthony shock jock Anthony Cumia was arrested after allegedly getting into a fight with a woman at his home in New York. Police say he was arrested Saturday after the 26-year-old woman called authorities. He was arraigned Sunday on charges of strangulation, assault, and unlawful imprisonment. Cumia's lawyer said the radio host pled not guilty and was released without bail. He's due back in court next month. He was fired by Sirius XM last year after the company said he made racially charged and hate-filled remarks on social media. So now he hosts an online program called The Anthony Cumia Show.
So that brings us to where we are today.
I do remember that happening, where like there was actually like you could listen to like the 911 call.
Well, it was a Periscope video broadcast.
Okay, I was like, I don't think 911 would have released that specifically.
The details on the event are sketchy, to say the least, with Anthony's then 26 girlfriend claiming Anthony broke her hand, strangled her, and that she suffered a broken rib in the altercation, some of which was broadcasted live by Danny on Periscope. The whole 8-minute video is online, and I feel like we might get to that in more depth in a later video. It's unclear what happens in the video. While Anthony gives a detailed explanation of his side of the story in his book, they've both been drinking and giving how other inaccuracies we've covered in his book. I don't really feel like I can believe everything being recounted by Anthony. The whole thing seems fucked, and we may get into it in a future episode, but the first clips I have are from January 19th, 2016, when Anthony is joined by Ron Bennington, who tries to evaluate his buddy at this wild time in his life.
Oh, so like house call, like almost a wellness check, but
yeah,
but like in a, are you being a shitty person?
Well, it seems like Ron is giving Anthony somewhat of a benefit of a doubt, unfortunately, having known him for a really long time, but also not really knowing all the details either.
Yeah.
So,
but of course, you know, dudes more often than not will take their bros side of things over the accuser.
Yeah, especially if they don't know the accuser nearly as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what kind of
it's
relationship.
A woman.
Yeah, in her late 20s, Ron is considerably older. You don't know what kind of relationship they had. So Anthony was arrested in December. We're here in January.
The next January.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Would you believe me that in this time, Anthony doesn't skip a show?
Yeah.
He's released on bail. He's on his show that following Monday. He was arrested on a Saturday. The following Monday, he's on the show. He's talking about the event somewhat. His lawyers told him to not talk about it too much.
They probably told him not to talk about it at all.
At all. That's what I think a future episode might be, are the shows around the time of his arrest.
Yeah.
But this is a bit after that, and I wanted to cover these specifically.
I haven't heard from a few people, I guess, you know, and then compounded by my legal issues that are now there, which I gotta say, Ronnie B, you're like Nostradamus.
Yeah.
Like Nostradamus, like Kreskin, the amazing Kreskin, Karnak.
Yeah, it took a genius to figure out that you were gonna fuck up. That's my powers that I have.
Ron gives Ant a good bit of pushback here, and that's what makes these episodes that much funnier.
Yeah.
And enjoyable for us, is that Ron has an understanding of the situation, to the awareness anyway, to not take Anthony's side 100%, but kind of look at it as my friend is in some serious trouble. I need to help him out at least a little bit.
I also imagine that knowing Anthony, you know that if you were to try to be like, hey, let's grab lunch sometime, let's talk, he'd be like, what are you, gay?
Yeah, he'd think it was weird.
Like, what the fuck you want to talk about?
It has to be.
But if it's for content on the show, he'll be like, yeah. And then, you know, he'll give his jokey answers, but Ron can see through it and be like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We see a good bit of this, and Ron is not hesitant to call out Anthony when he can tell that he's trying to swerve or distract him or change the topic.
No, you know.
Now I know. Ronnie, over the years, I've always had quite a tumultuous relationships with girls. You know how it is. Nothing crazy, but I can't really pick them. I can't really pick them well.
And I would say the same for them. I would actually say to everyone involved, what were you thinking?
It's a joke, but also seriously.
Yeah, I love that about Ron. So, yeah, we might get into it in a different episode, but Anthony goes into the situation, the period of him dating Danny, more in his book. So he gets fired in 2014, right around the same time he starts the show at Compound Media. In this time, it's in the basement of his house before he moves out to the Manhattan studio. Danny is living there with him and will go down there while he's broadcasting, fuck around with shit, not get along well with the people working on the show.
Okay.
Does not give a fuck. He'll be like, please stay up here. She'll be like, fuck you, I'm coming down. It's volatile, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
But we've noticed of how long Anthony stayed married to his ex-wife. He sticks in these situations way longer than any reasonable person probably would.
Going back to the point that sticks out like a sore thumb to me about Anthony, that I bring up like basically every episode, it's the trauma patterns. This is just another sort of telltale sign of somebody who has lived through trauma, because people who have experienced trauma and haven't healed from it will very often seek out those same patterns of toxicity and maladaptive behavior, not because it's good for them, not because they like it, but because it's familiar. Like somebody who as a kid was talked down to all the time. Like, oh, you're so stupid. What are you talking about? You don't know anything, blah, 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 by their parents or their guardians, will very often in relationships later on seek that familiarity because it's comfortable, because as a kid, they learned that this is the safest I can be. My parent is doing it. This is the safest I can be with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll seek that out in adult relationships and just sort of perpetuate that cycle until they realize, I don't deserve this. And this isn't actually doing anything for me.
Yeah. He tries to, this is a total of 2 years, and he knows right away that this is a problem. He cried himself to sleep on his wedding night and stayed married for 10 years. They end up staying together for a couple years here, him and Danny. Even after a couple times, Anthony's saying, like, you need to leave, you can't stay here. She'll say, well, I don't have anywhere else to go, I don't have any family I could stay with. So he lets her stay there, and it's just an unhealthy situation for the both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Here we hear how Anthony's been dealing with the breakup and the arrest.
Yeah. It's a valid point.
You know what got to me? This is I was watching your show, and then I'd never heard you show any kind of signs of weakness, but you got into that. You were sleeping.
Yeah.
2 hours a day.
Just sleeping. Bummed out.
Yeah.
And I was saying how it's a normal thing if you're going through shit. It's not like one of those things where out of nowhere, you just start sleeping a lot, acting depressed, things like that. Isn't that something you're supposed to? It's a basic human thing, right?
Well, most humans don't end up in this situation, but
I know. I understand that.
There is no doubt that you have some kind of spiritual malaise going on because you have nothing in your life other than immediate satisfaction. You know what I mean? You have no one that you love or care about. You know what I'm saying? You don't.
Yeah, besides our family, of course.
Family, but you're still from a child. You're the child of the family.
The child.
Rather than moved into a different role.
Yeah. I've noticed that too myself. Right. I've noticed that. I've stayed in a state of arrested development for many years. I think I have age dysmorphia.
Okay.
You know how they say body dysmorphia?
It's called CPTSD.
Oh, see, he wants to make a joke out of it, but yeah, you're right.
It's genuinely, it's jokey to be like, it's age dysmorphia. But like, if you look in the mirror or whatever reflection you do upon yourself and you're like, I don't know how to do these things. I don't know how to process emotions. I don't know how to like solve problems. I don't know how to ask for help.
So instead, according to Ron, he's sleeping 22 hours a day? And Anthony's like, well, that's normal, right? And Ron's like, well, I mean, if it works for you, but...
The times that I slept 22 hours a day were like in my tumultuous teen years, where it was like, maybe someone should reach out to me and offer me some kind of help. It's like...
Yeah, this is the thing. Besides Ron, the only people Anthony really has in his life as constants are Keith the cop, his good friend who works on the show with him at this point, and Keith's wife, Angie, who helped decorate his house.
Yeah.
Other than that, he doesn't have any close friends. He has people who come in as guests on the show, but they're not people Anthony can confide in. So it's very possible that Ron sitting in here is the first time Anthony has actually been able to freely express his pain. Like, Ron listened to the show and he was talking about how much he was sleeping, but without having listened to those episodes, I don't know how much in-depth Anthony was getting on that. It probably wasn't dealt with the same as Ron is dealing with it here.
Yeah,
it probably was dealt with it as a joke.
I know that this guy that I work with needs help, and I know how I can help him, is like really keen of him.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Dealing with it, not 100% serious. You got to work a little bit of comedy in there, or else it's going to get too serious.
Yeah.
And it does verge into that as this clip goes on.
Things like that. I think I just won't accept it. I'll just stay whatever age I want to be like that.
And what age is that?
I don't know, really. I think it varies.
This is a perfect example of how emotional flashbacks from trauma can come up. So like people who experience CPTSD symptoms are often experiencing them because they have had a lot of experiences over a long period of time. So, you know, we heard about how his father hooked him up with a woman when he was like a child. A
20-year-old when he was 13.
Yeah, and that could be a bang. That's something that at 13 years old, something got stunted there. And he talks about how, I just sort of, you know, like after that, it was just like, well, yeah, I'm just a man now, you know, like I don't have to deal with all these other kid things. And it's just like, you say you don't have to deal with them, but in reality, you never got to experience it. You were robbed of that aspect of your childhood. And then, you know, maybe at 7, something happened. And maybe at 4, something happened. And so, yeah, you'll experience things that's like, I just feel like I'm like 10 again, you know? And like, you sort of say it metaphorically, but in a way, it could really be an emotional flashback where you're just like, I feel like I'm 10 and I'm out of control and no one's here to protect me and like things like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a great example of how like childhood trauma can manifest in adult life.
You know, but it's never
somewhere between 3 and 11. Is that the times? What are we talking about?
It's never it's just never where I am in real life. Right. You know, it's somewhere it swings, I guess, between somewhere in the mid-20s to 40.
Right.
Maybe in there.
This time period, 20 to 40, is being married.
Even if he was the bad guy in the marriage, in a way, he could have been the entire time re-traumatizing himself.
Yeah.
By putting himself in a situation he didn't want to be in. And then not knowing how to leave.
Yeah.
Leaving the situation is a healing opportunity. Communicating about your feelings in the situation is a healing opportunity. But just sticking around because you feel like you don't know how to get out, that's just going to re-traumatize yourself, especially considering his history.
Yeah. Ron points out that Anthony has a tendency to gravitate to the same few comfort things. Like, we've talked about this. Like, we don't have our own, you know, comfort movies or music and stuff like that. This is interesting to me, though, because Anthony has criticized Opie for basically the same thing of, like, not having any passion for anything. But when Anthony has a passion for movies, it's really like 3 movies.
Well, you love the karaoke.
Love to karaoke.
Right. And I noticed because back when you used to feel free to scope,
Yes.
I would watch and I'd be like, oh, he's doing one of his 3 songs. I feel like
I latch on to something.
right, and you stay with it over and over.
Yeah.
There's a world of art out there for you, my friend, that you could enjoy.
Yeah.
He seems so uncomfortable at this conversation that is treading lightly toward opportunities to heal, but healing to him is unknown, and the unknown is not familiar, so it's dangerous.
Yeah.
So like I'm looking at it. Okay, all the other clips I've ever seen of Anthony are just like I'm doing body language that seems pretty casual, a little put on, just sort of like arms, just like gesticulating.
Yeah.
But right now he's gripping the bottom of the mic stand and just sort of fidgeting with it.
Yeah.
Like twisting it and just sort of like a child would.
Yeah.
And yeah, he seems so uncomfortable with like the prospect of like someone being compassionate to him for one, which if he didn't have that as a kid, seems dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if this really plays into it or anything, but I do think it plays into Anthony being potentially at least neurodivergent at the least, was when he would talk about meetings in NEW and have to talk about some new promotion the station was doing or some upcoming event. Anthony would either fall asleep and not pay attention, or he would play with his shoelaces, like the little plastic bit, and just zone out for the whole time. And it kind of is like like he's fidgeting with these things because he's not comfortable in this environment.
Yeah, he's when people who are neurodivergent or traumatized, which when it comes to symptoms have a huge overlap. So it could be either or both. Likely both if you have one, honestly. When you're bored, it's uncomfortable because usually you're growing up in situations that are not boring because shit's happening all the time. Intense shit that you have to figure out or you feel like you have to figure out. And so when you're bored, that sort of triggers the body into danger. And so you want to self-soothe by either falling asleep, fidgeting to like find physical tactile comfort to feel like you're doing something.
Yeah, right.
And looking for things to occupy that space to make your brain. Boredom makes you hypervigilant. When you are hypervigilant on like a baseline, you feel safer a lot of times for a lot of people who have experienced trauma or neurodivergency, because you want to be hypervigilant to a point, but just to fend off boredom. So you'd have to like find this like happy medium of like, oh, I'm really focusing on my laces. I'm peeling off the aglet as I speak. And that's my job right now. That's the thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed like when Bowie died, you didn't know anything other than like Let's Dance.
I don't know.
There's a full catalog.
I really don't know that much about David Bowie, aside from I loved him in The Prestige as Tesla. He was fantastic in that. I know every girl that I've gone out with for the most
Look
part.
like him. Same weight.
They loved that Labyrinth movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That lines up about the age range. Weird things I don't know why he would admit. Maybe just because he doesn't realize that there's anything weird about that. Going into more about Anthony's few hobbies and how much more fun this show would be if he actually talked about things he was interested in and didn't focus on things that pissed him off all the time.
But I feel like that's the way that you are with, like, you have your 3 gangster movies that you'll watch over and over.
I like those.
You have like 3 comedies that you watch. You're not a man on a search.
Huh.
You know?
Yeah.
When somebody is compassionately reflecting who he is to him, he's like, I guess I'm not just a dick that everyone hates. I guess I am like a human that has things that I love. And that is okay.
Yeah, and he doesn't know how to respond.
Yeah, he's like, huh.
Yeah, it's always kind of a laugh. And you hear they get more and more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's why I really wanted to show you this, because Ant and Ron's body language is really funny.
The body language is, because even this still right now.
Yeah.
Ron is physically leaning in.
Yeah.
Which is what this whole conversation is. Ron is leaning into somebody to offer that compassion.
And Anthony's leaning back.
And Anthony is like he's like, yeah, he's sort of stiff. His upper body, the only things really moving are his head and his hands. The rest is just like,
yeah,
he's sort of like a chicken almost. And that's not like to make fun of what he's doing.
No, I mean, you're right, though.
It's just sort of like a way to, like, if somebody can't see this right now, just like his hands fidgeting and his neck just like, just back and forth, just like, sort of like physically taken aback.
Yeah,
that anybody would say that about him, other than just like, you're just a fucking asshole. And
which I'm sure he's used to.
When you said a second ago that if he were to lean into things that he liked instead of just things that piss him off, who would be there to call him an asshole?
He used to have comedians that were close friends, people he's known for a really long time. Some of the comedians that used to do the O&A show that still want to be around him. And yeah, like, sometimes there's just like a culture of ball busting and stuff like that just kind of becomes normal, you know?
Yeah.
That takes the place of compassion.
Well, because that's like sort of toward the point I'm getting at. It's sort of like any relationship, whether it be a friendship, in-laws, a partner, any siblings, new siblings, whatever, just like any relationship. If you're the kind of person that has dealt with a lot of people being terrible to you, especially in your formative years, when you encounter a relationship that is stable and compassionate and communicative, like evolving, in the beginning of the relationship, it might be like ball busting. Ugh, you're so stupid. Oh my God, you're so fucking silly. Why did you do that? And then as communication happens, hopefully, the two people will realize, oh, you don't really like it when I say that? That's wow. Thanks for being vulnerable about that and like letting me know. And if you manage to get to that point, you might find a lot of discomfort when the person is suddenly, the person has caught on and is like, I want to be nice to you. I want to give you love. And the moment that they're like, I want to give you love, it turns into, whoa, this is weird. I do not want this feeling to happen because I feel vulnerable. I feel this is very unfamiliar. Like, I want you to express your care by ball busting. I want you to express your care by just listening. And I don't have the window of tolerance to be able to accept your compassion.
This is why I really wish there was an opportunity for us to ask Opie questions.
Yeah.
Because I am
I wonder if he was pushed away.
I'm genuinely curious how many times Opie tried to reach out to Anthony in these times.
Yeah.
From New York or in Sirius. And that was what Anthony perceived as like, oh, it was like a chick. It's like I was in a relationship.
Yeah,
like,
it's threatening.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with that, and if as a child you got none of that, it is considered threatening because it's new. If he were to go and do stuff he loves, who would be there to call him an asshole and a terrible person? That's what he knows.
Yeah.
He knows being used. He knows being manipulated. He knows being called like a terrible person, probably. Just like, this is just inference. This is all assumptions on my part.
It's not too far off.
Yeah, and I'm just like, his growing up life sounded awful.
Yeah, not great.
And probably didn't have all these things.
No.
So, like, if he didn't have that growing up, then he considers it a threat. And he's scared of it. And so you have to approach him like a fucking cornered, wounded predator. You know, and just like, hey, buddy, I'm a predator too. Yeah, we're just big old tigers, and you know, we're just goofing around. But also, are you okay, dude? Like, you need a hug? No, I just bite you. You know, you can call me though if you need to.
It explains why Opie would be bitter about working with someone for so long, wanting to clearly work with them longer.
Yeah.
But things went wrong, and this is just me inferring and picking up on clues here. Opie was able to see from a mile away Anthony's destruction.
Yeah.
And picking up on the racism very early, and being like, this isn't going to end well. And they probably, if I had to guess, this is what I want to ask. Did you have conversations about this? Did you ask him about the racism, about like where these things were coming from? Because you could have prevented a good bit of this.
That is like such a good fucking point, because people like to argue online with strangers all the time. That, in my opinion, is not the way to do anti-racism work.
Yeah.
And I am no expert on anti-racism work. I'm just an expert on my own work that I've been doing with it. But the way to reach someone and help give them a teachable moment is the people you know.
Yeah.
Is the white people that you're close to, that respect you, and you know how to approach them. Just like Ron is approaching Anthony right now. You know how to approach these people. Like, some might seem like they're lost causes, but if you know how to approach them, you might be able to get a toe in the door.
There's a show called Unmasked, and it was on Sirius, where Ron was the guest host of it. And comedians would come on, and Ron would interview these comedians, because he's damn good at it.
Yeah.
And we're seeing examples of it here, that Ron is able to keep the balance to where he knows he's not going to lose Anthony, but he also is trying to get in the things he thinks are important that are going to help him.
He's steering it, but keeping an eye on, like, the road.
Yeah, and also knows this is a show. Mm-hmm. You know, he also knows he has to keep it entertaining.
Yeah.
I think he keeps the balance really good.
Yeah.
Here.
There are things I do like delving into. I like technology, science, things like that.
Well, do you ever share those things?
A lot of that.
You share that with the world? I think that would be great for you.
Not really.
Anthony's tech show.
I could do a tech show. I could call it the Technophile.
Right.
And get sued.
I think the Technophile was a show hosted by Laszlo, who worked on the GTA games.
Laszlo from What We Do in the Shadows?
No, Laszlo from Cat Dog.
Oh, okay.
There's, like, you're always talking about computer things. Maybe not on the air.
Mm-hmm.
He loves talking about science things. I've seen videos where Anthony is just talking about science and no problematic shit ever comes up. It's like, wow, why aren't you doing this shit more? Your brain's preoccupied with the problematic shit.
The way that Western media is structured, the more outraged and outrageous something is, the more views it gets.
I mean, I know that firsthand from YouTube.
And
happy shit never got clicks. It's the reason the Angry Video Game Nerd and the Nostalgia Critic ruled in the early 2000s, was because the whole point was, I'm angry, I'm bitching about shit. People would try to do a happy spin on it as like a parody, and there'd be an audience for it, but not nearly as big.
I should latch on to something.
Something to live for, something that you would think is bigger than yourself, something to care about. Whether it was, family, art, country, philosophy, something to get you up in the morning and say, this would be,
I jokingly said it like episode 1 or 2 at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Where I was just like, keep going until someone like offs themselves.
Yeah.
I think Ron sees that.
He realizes he's going down a destructive path.
Yeah, and has been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's trying to walk him back, at least a little bit.
And even if you don't agree with everything.
Something to live for?
Literally. Get something to live for.
This is worth my time.
Well, I love doing this.
I could be in service. Well, of course you love doing this because you sit and you talk and people tell you that they like you. This is not what I'm talking about. Yeah.
But
I'm talking about you being of service to the world. That's where the spiritual malaise comes from.
Spiritual malaise.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
He's trying to keep it light. He wants it to be light so bad. Spiritual malaise. The whole time he was just like, he's like, for God or country. Anthony's face of just looking around like, what is all this? Like, I hope we get to a lot of this. This is going to be a long one because this is only like parts of an episode. The other ones are like almost whole episodes. But it all fits. And especially having Ron there as the anchor. Because a lot of things keep coming up. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, Anthony so badly wants to talk about something else. Mm-hmm. He does not want to talk about himself. This clip, though, is extremely interesting. This puts a lot of things into perspective because we see a lot of differences between how Anthony is here and how he is in 2022. In this clip specifically, Ron does not think Anthony is a conservative.
Like, I would actually say this politically, it's not so much that you're a conservative, because you're not. You just hate liberals.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Because that's how a lot of politics work.
It's just the other side sucks, not
if
so much
you don't
my
like
side's
the other
great.
side, you must be on this side, rather than, can I just be something else? Can I just have my views?
Yeah. And Ron realizes it's just like, I know you're not a conservative.
You don't have to be a conservative.
Right. But now in 2022, he absolutely would consider himself a conservative. He's just completely gone
And
over.
it's another fucking tick in the box of he gives more of a shit about what he dislikes. He defines himself by what he dislikes.
Yeah.
Rather than what he likes.
Yeah.
Which is so sad.
If you look on Twitter, it's 99% black people are terrible. 1% I love white women.
Yeah.
It's like that's it?
Yeah.
That's your whole existence?
Yeah.
So something positive would be important for you.
So go not the negativity of something. Find the positivity of
something to serve, something to give yourself over to.
to give myself over to.
Yeah.
That
Whether it's
That sounds
queen or
some
country.
language I've heard before.
In what way?
I'm noticing family, friends, they're starting to use all the same kind of language. I think they're in cahoots with each other. I'm constantly waiting to come home to an intervention.
I don't think an intervention would work with you.
Really?
Because I don't think you ever think that you bottom out. And I'm not sure even if the drinking has anything to do with it. I think the drinking is a small part of a larger sign.
It's not the substance that's the problem.
Right.
Plenty of people have substances around them at all times.
Yeah.
It's the root cause, the root cause of substance abuse is, and there are a shit ton of studies on this, is traumatic situations.
Yeah.
Is history. And it's not just, oh, my dad was an alcoholic, so now I am. It's not like some like genetic thing. Unless you think of like inherited trauma and generational trauma, that's a thing.
Yeah.
And then you do see generation upon generation of alcoholics because they're not breaking that cycle.
Like when Anthony and his brother Joe stay with their father in California from their mid-teens. Well, early teens, because he was in California for the whole buzz thing.
Yeah.
Most of that time is spent fucking drunk, doing a lot of, destructive shit.
Yeah, if
not
you're
dealing with the situation.
If you're a parent that thinks that your kid needs to have sex with an adult at the age of 13, what other things were you being exposed to at a very young age?
Yeah, drugs, alcohol, just stuff.
Violence.
Yeah. There are examples of that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where they are, so I know we're just going to come upon them organically, which I think is for the best anyway. This clip, I think, is one of the most interesting ones, because this is where Ron realizes that Anthony is not the same person he worked with at NEW.
You got lost. You got lost somewhere along the way.
I got lost.
Yeah. You were the funniest out of everybody. See, now I do feel like I'm the ghost visiting.
Oh, shit.
You were the absolute funniest out of everyone.
Uh-huh.
That didn't give you pleasure.
How do you give yourself over to something?
I'll pause it. He changed the subject back to something else immediately.
He's looking for he's looking for the answers, and he's trying, but the way he presents it is he wants to bring it to some type of jokey place.
Yeah, he is being oddly receptive.
Yes.
But at the same time, he's being put on the spot.
Yeah.
Which I think is a really good way for specific personality types, to give them, like, putting someone on the spot and then just sort of being like, well, yeah, just think about it, and then just sort of leaving it.
Yeah.
Is a very useful way, because he was like Ron was saying, like, I don't think an intervention would work for you. And the archetypical concept of an intervention does not work for everybody.
It's just people gathering around you, guilting you about things you've done to me,
surprising you, centering themselves.
Yeah, you've hurt so many people. Look at what your actions have done.
Yeah.
It's very blamey. It's very guilty. It's why we talk about why the truth campaign shit never works.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that just makes you feel bad.
Yeah,
that's not going to work.
When I smoked, it just made me want a cigarette.
Yeah, it's just stressing you out.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, Ron coming like, yeah, here's some information about that. And yeah, Anthony doesn't have anything to say about it, which is understandable because he's not thought about this stuff very deeply.
Mm-mm.
And then he's just like, you see that his long pause of just like, not the lost. And I feel like that pause is like the most emotional I've seen Anthony visibly.
Yeah.
And you can see the conflict that's happening where it's like lost. And like something just sort of like coming up and he's like, nope. Let's go back to this other thing that I feel like I could control a little bit
I
more.
gotta beat that down.
Yeah.
How do you find something like that?
Do you mean how can you look around in a world full of nature and art and know that there's only a short time of life? How do you find gratitude in that? How do you find service in that?
Therapy.
That's
Which it's interesting to see now with Gavin specifically leading the charge how much they think that shit doesn't work.
Therapy?
Yeah. And how they'll always put it down whenever they can. Anthony won't do it specifically. Gavin will always do it, and Anthony feels like he has to agree.
What's interesting about what you're saying is that I do agree. Therapy does not work for everybody. I feel like I get where they're coming from. I disagree.
They might have seen an example that hit them personally.
Yeah,
someone
exactly.
that they thought needed help, didn't get it, so now they're just turned off it forever. Which, I mean, I can see that.
Yeah,
I've
there
heard
are a
people
lot.
say
There are a
that.
lot of like shitty therapists out there.
Yeah, it's hard to find a good one.
And it's difficult to match with one that resonates with how you think, how you operate, your goals, the things you need psychologically. And so what's really cool, like, we live in a society.
True.
Right?
I've heard that.
Back in the day, before therapists were even a thing, before psychology was even a thing, people still helped each other in the way that we do now with therapy.
Yeah.
The way that Ron is doing right now. People who need therapy go to therapists sometimes. There are people who do racist things and may even label themselves as racist or have been labeled as racist. We don't have anybody to send them to teach them anti-racism.
Yeah, you try to go to like a sensitivity training.
You're forced to go to sensitivity training. You're punished to go to these things that teach you to be anti-racist. They don't even teach you to be anti-racist. They just they punish you.
Anthony talks about the training that he was sent to for the domestic violence thing and how much bullshit he played it off as of like, I was watching these videos of people as examples of how you shouldn't treat women, and they were all people I knew. It was like Andrew Dice Clay was an example.
Oh.
And he was like, all these people that are my friends that I've worked with are in this training video as people to not mirror.
Damn, that's weird.
That's amazing.
That must be intense for him.
But he plays it off like, wow, this was so funny. Like, was it though?
Interesting.
So yeah, he ends up just lying to this woman of just like, because she knew who he was from XM and then watched a clip of his show where Anthony was talking about examples of rape and he was downplaying it significantly. And the woman was like, I do not think I can work with you. And Anthony is like, I need this. Like, I've been assigned this. I need this to progress.
Yeah, I legally have to do this.
Yeah. So he just fucking bullshits his way through it.
And a lot of people do when they're forced into some kind of rehabilitation.
Yeah, and it's not gonna work, especially when you're in Anthony's mindset. That's not gonna take.
Yeah. And that's where I'm thinking that I get where people are coming from when they say, I don't do therapy, therapy's stupid, because of the stereotype that you consider to be therapy. But talking to your friends can be therapy.
Yeah.
And often is much more effective than an hour every week with somebody that you have to build a relationship of trust, understanding, history with.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to pay them, which feels like punishment.
Yeah.
And so in that regard, what Ron's doing is representative of what friend and family and loved ones should be doing for each other.
Yeah, I'm curious as to how much of an extent Anthony's family is actually trying to break through. Like, from every example I've seen, Joe is no better than Anthony. So
Yeah.
I don't think he's getting much support there. He's not getting support from his dad, because his dad's not around, or possibly dead by this point. And as we'll learn in the next episode, Anthony's mom isn't present either. So that leaves his sister, Dawn, and what friends? What group of
Yeah.
friends is there, and can we actually see that they would be the type that would give the support that Ron is giving here, or anything that would be any use to him?
Yeah.
Like, to me, especially because of how Anthony's reacting here, this is the first time he's hearing a lot of this.
Yeah. Or even getting the same tone.
Yeah.
Like, even it's deeper than just benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And it's less blanket of benefit of the doubt. It's like, yeah, stuff's going on. But, like, underneath all of that, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if you did it or didn't do it. Like, that I'm not the judge. Underneath all of that, what is going on, though?
Yeah.
And when you were talking about family and stuff, a lot of times, if you came from if your family of origin was a traumatic one, and maybe everybody was traumatized, and some people were doing the traumatizing, some people were receiving, you'll find that a lot of times individuals in the family will fit certain roles. And when the family is reunited, whether it just be, oh, brother and sister are talking, or like a family reunion, they'll start to repeat all of those. They'll fall back into those roles if they haven't done enough healing.
Yeah.
And so in my opinion, family isn't but I mean, I don't talk to my family.
Right.
For my perspective, trying to find support from a family that was traumatic
Yeah.
is the opposite of what you should do.
It isn't going to help.
It's
yeah.
not at best, it's going to be a waste of time.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like I'm supposed to just know it.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to feel it and know it.
Ron was talking about, like, how do you find the gratitude?
Yeah, it's like, how in a world full of nature and art and all this can you not find purpose? And Anthony's response is, wow, it sounds like I'm just supposed to know.
And he seems genuinely just like, he's looking at Ron like, are you for real right now?
Yeah, are you
You're
shitting
asking
me?
me to follow my intuition? You're asking me to be aware of my emotions?
Yeah.
And I sort of feel like that is such a smart way for Ron to allow him to discover this about himself.
Yeah.
And instead of be like, give it that sort of tongue-in-cheek, like, you're asking me how to find, like, gratitude in the beauty of nature and art and all of these things. You're asking me how to do that?
Mm.
And then you give him the space, and he's like, what, am I just supposed to know how to do this? And it's like, that's a huge step. You don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And that's not bad. That's just
No.
something you have to know about yourself.
It's just acknowledging.
Yeah.
Something
do you
you've
want that to
probably
change?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I wonder if a lot of Anthony's pushback is because what I would venture to guess is that, and I'm not sure how much of a percentage, but I would imagine at least to some degree, Ron's approach to this came from his own personal recovery and dealing in AA.
Yeah.
And Anthony's probably feeling that, oh, someone's trying to armchair psychology me. And that's probably the pushback of he probably doesn't see any benefit from rehab or any programs like AA. So he probably feels at least some resentment to Ron even taking this time.
Yeah.
And that's probably where the pushback is coming from, because if he didn't feel resentment and if he actually felt open to it, there probably would be more of a conversation. But it's very one-sided.
And it's very much like people in recovery from substance abuse. They have to want to recover. You can't force. Same with someone who's a racist. Same with someone who has committed domestic violence, or any of these things that are oftentimes hurting yourself or other people. And like, you have to have some kernel of wanting to change. And sometimes that could be, wow, this affects somebody I love. That's something that'll motivate me to change. Wow, this is going to keep me from being able to like enjoy grandkids. That's something that I want. So I'm going to use that as motivation to change. And yeah, I wonder how often after this, how frequently does he talk to Ron?
Not much at all.
And
he shows up in the 2018 episodes I show, but from what I've tried to look into, I don't think Ron ever comes back on.
And it's not even like Ron. I think Ron is doing a great job right here.
Yeah.
But like I said, Anthony has to want to change.
Yeah, and unfortunately, from here to 2018, we don't see any change.
And he will push people away.
Yeah.
Who challenge that, directly or indirectly.
And 2018 to 2022 specifically, zero change.
Yeah.
If there's any change, it's just gotten worse.
Yeah, and
because the people he's let in and get closer are people like Gavin.
And Gavin doesn't give a shit.
No.
Gavin gives a shit about nobody.
No, and to a point we've specifically pointed out, is a terrible friend.
As much as he pushes people away, I am labeling him as a very anxious, avoidant attachment style.
Mm.
The moment someone wants to be close to him emotionally, nope. But at the same time, the moment someone doesn't want to be with him, he hates that.
Yeah.
So he wants both. And so in the end, he is alone. He has to heal in some way, shape, or form before he can have any meaningful relationships that aren't just repeating what he grew up with.
Well, when we don't know that, it becomes we're numb. I'm not saying I didn't end up, pretty much in the same spot. We all do sooner or later. But then it's up to us whether we want to do something, First of all, you got the gift. You were the one that the gift was given to. And you could ask any of the people that we know comedically. I don't think anybody thinks they're as funny as you.
Jesus.
And now some of those same people are like, oh, I don't even want to be seen with that guy. and yet.
Yeah. I don't know.
As just like for all comedians, especially ones that push back against woke culture and cancel culture. If you're so funny, why can't you be funny about things that are seemingly mundane to you?
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, when I listen to NEW clips, I am coming across clips of Anthony being genuinely funny.
Without being problematic, I
No.
assume.
And this is why... And I imagine... And I don't know, I don't want to put this on Ron. But I imagine that between how incredibly toxic Anthony only got from here and how unreceptive he was, that there might have been a tinge of resentment of like, I tried. And that's why listening back to these episodes from when I was listening as a kid, it's why the Compound Media episodes are so much harder for me to listen to. Because you see that this person did genuinely have something at some point. Yeah. And to see how it's not there at all anymore is extremely depressing.
I remember one time you were saying you didn't care about pollution or anything because what do you care about the world after you die?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I don't think that has to do with having any opinion on whether there's something after this. Like, I don't care if there was something after this. What, it's putting me right back here on polluted earth because
You don't know. But the thing is there a purpose to life other than just your own experiences?
Oh,
it would be the same.
Who knows?
Do you feel like anything with your species? Are you a big fan of your species?
Oh, no. Oh, this planet is just full of crawling bacteria. Oh, it's just a disaster. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of... I'm not a fan of man!
It's weird that most of the other bacteria stays out of trouble.
Yeah,
yours piling up.
For the most part.
Yeah.
So Ron is over here like, serving, maybe something bigger than you, thinking of things. But I think if you go back to just, what do you like?
Yeah.
Keep it so, like, literally think of it like a kid.
Yeah.
You're not going to walk up to a kid and be like, so how do you want to serve humanity? That kid's going to be like, what?
What are your thoughts on racism, kid?
Yeah. Yeah. Instead, you're going to ask that kid to be like, what do you like to do? And the kid's going to be like, I like playing in mud, looking for worms, eating wood, just like weird stuff.
Licking rocks of salt in the corner of the classroom.
Rocks, looking for rocks to lick, looking under the rocks. If there's a bug, I want to touch it. And just like, if you really start that base, because his headspace a lot of times could be that base.
Yeah.
Of just like, just think of things you like to do. Do you really like being a racist?
Yeah, how much joy does this bring you?
Do you feel joy from that?
Yeah.
Do you feel what genuinely makes you feel good? Not even just joy. We don't just good.
Yeah.
Just generally good. Maybe he'll be like, video games. We can point out things that he likes, which is because he just thinks they're things he's just doing.
Right.
But we can tell from the patterning that he likes to do them.
Yeah.
You don't repeatedly do things that don't benefit you if you don't like doing them.
Yeah, to some degree.
You're not making money off of the video games.
Yeah, no. How, like, are you actually getting, like, crazy donations?
No.
On Nick Fuentes' streaming service?
I doubt it.
No. What kind
You're
of, like, even if Nick raids your shit, how many fucking people are actually donating? Do you think people who watch Anthony's stream are the kind of people that donate, not even to charities, but to people they enjoy?
No, that's a
sex workers.
That's a little too commie for me.
Exactly. No fucking way.
That's a little too red.
I will enjoy your stuff on a surface level, on a passive surface level, but that is it. What I also wanted to point out at the end of this clip here is Anthony, instinctively, because things are getting too serious, he has to make a movie reference. He does an impression of Al Pacino from The Devil's Advocate.
Okay.
And you hear the people in the booth laugh, and then it cuts back to Ron.
And he's like...
He's just... Yeah, his reaction to it...
He's like, yeah, that's nice and all, but let's get back to it.
Yeah, the end of this clip, too, is worth pointing out.
It went quite a few years, Mr. Bennington, without any run-ins with the law. Not a one.
Well, that's when Keith still was on the job. That's where you fucked up. Yeah.
Anthony, even back in NEW, because he knew Keith since back then, he had a PBA card. So when he gets stopped at a red light, you can flash the fucking card and you're good. So yeah, he's been friends and close friends with the cops for decades.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's not too far of a reach to bring up that, hey, maybe since you don't have any pull in the community anymore, maybe that could have helped you, if that were the case.
It's what's interesting is that Ron's rebuttal is that all the other bacteria seem to be getting along fine. You're getting into trouble a lot.
Yeah.
And that's sort of piggybacking off of the thought of trying to figure out, like, what are other people living for?
Exactly.
And they're living for their joys that aren't getting them into trouble. That's sort of the implication that Ron is presenting.
I would say so, yeah. Maybe we wouldn't be in the situation, yeah.
And I think that's interesting because when it comes to toxic masculinity and trauma that a lot of men experience growing up from toxic masculinity, the only time that they feel safe to express any emotions are through anger or possibly violence, whether it be verbally violent or physically violent. And if that's the only time that you're like expressing, like, this is what I want to do right now, I'm gonna be verbally violent, I'm gonna be physically violent. Do you think there's any other place that you could have that kind of momentum emotionally that isn't harming yourself or others?
Yeah. Maybe
you can find, because I think that's sort of what Ron's getting at, but also sort of like a spiritual thing, which maybe Anthony has a bit of a spiritual side we don't know about.
I don't believe he does.
Okay.
I don't think Anthony is
maybe
religious
that's just sort
at
of
all.
Ron projecting that onto him.
That could be, because I think the whole AA thing there is a thing of accepting a power higher than yourself.
Yeah, he doesn't seem born again, but he does seem spiritual.
Yeah. I've never picked up on a super explicit belief in God, but he definitely is more spiritual for having gone through this thing and having dealt with that.
Yeah.
The last clip I have from this episode is kind of sad.
My relationships, not really based on anything too solid. You know. But what the fuck am I supposed to do? Try and find someone and fall in love or some shit? I went through that already. There's no such thing.
Give him the space.
Just staring at him.
And
not saying a word, just looking at him.
This is probably okay. A lot of people don't like therapy because they don't like the concept of therapy because they've never actually tried it a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like the concept of therapy because they think it's the patient doing all the work. And it is. The patient has to do all the work. The only thing that the facilitator, the therapist, psychologist will be doing is gently guiding you based on what you've already said.
Yeah.
Like if in this situation, Ron is gently guiding by not saying a thing.
Yeah.
And also giving a little bit of that, like a tiny bit of like bodily ball busting by tapping.
Yeah.
You know, but that's because he knows Anthony is gonna sort of, he takes it as a humorous thing, probably.
He picks up on it at the least, yeah.
Yeah, and just a lot of therapy is just giving you the space to feel safe, to express shit. Like, even if you go into therapy and you say some, like, horrendous homophobic or racist or blah, 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 terrible, like, words against other people, the therapist isn't going to be like, oh my God, I can't treat... It might be a boundary for them.
It could be.
But a lot of times I don't think a therapist is immediately going to be like, oh, I'm going to judge you and immediately push you away, because they know that's not going to work to anybody's benefit. Yeah. It's just going to further stigmatize all of this stuff for you. They're going to give you that space to say all the things. And then they're going to be like, stereotypically, so like, how does that make you feel?
Yeah.
And it's such a jokey, haha, they just always ask that. But they genuinely need you to learn how things make you feel.
It wouldn't be a trope if it wasn't so prevalent. It wouldn't be so prevalent if it wasn't helpful.
Yeah, it is. And Ron is just sort of pointing it out, just sort of like, that is some poignant information you've just said, Anthony.
Yeah.
I don't even have to say that that's poignant. I'm going to give pointed silence about it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, ingest what you've just said.
True love doesn't exist. What is he going to do? Try to fall in love with someone? That's not a thing.
And what's really, and this whole show, what I've turned this show into for myself is what I turn most things into is over the years, I've realized that psychology is a special interest of mine.
Right, yeah.
I applied it to myself for over a decade, and now it's just sort of like applying it to myself and any situation I can, which I think is fair to a point.
Sure.
Within boundaries. But with Anthony saying, "Whoa," the silence happens. Then he goes, "Whoa, what am I supposed to do? Like find someone and fall in love, which is true love? That doesn't exist." Nobody said you had to find true love.
Yeah, no.
So it seems to me that you want true love.
Yeah.
And this is a great sentence that personifies the anxious avoidant attachment style. You want true love, but you push it away every time you can.
And there's so many instances in the book where Anthony insists he's not trying to find, like when him and Danny hooked up, he did not want a serious relationship. She didn't want a serious relationship. Neither of them wanted to be, exclusive to each other. And that's how he insists he likes it. He does not want anything concrete. He just wants to have some type of companionship, I guess. But for whatever reason, the people that Anthony chooses to be involved with, it doesn't work out. Whether it's his fault or something happens on the other side of things, I don't know.
But it sounds like it did work out. It sounds like it did work out in terms of they didn't last, it wasn't serious, and they didn't end up together.
And he got arrested.
That's the most serious it got. But in all honesty, that kind of relationship sounds like way more serious than like our relationship.
Really?
Yeah. Well, yeah. In the terms of you're fucking hurting each other You are allegedly abusive, allegedly broke bones, not allegedly, but got arrested.
Yeah.
That's very serious.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That is some sort of commitment, whether or not it was intentional or not.
You committed to giving so much of a shit that you became allegedly violent.
That you at least bit this person. That is something that he actually has admit on Joe Rogan's show. That she was like waving her like broken phone in Anthony's face, and he bit her hand and broke the skin.
That's fucking serious.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, you committed to doing all that instead of leaving.
Yeah, that's true.
That's pretty fucking serious.
Yeah.
I've never bitten you, but I literally bite you all the time. But that's
never
a different
broken
kind
the
of
skin.
bite.
Yeah.
I just need to have I need to feel your flesh under my teeth a little bit.
A little bit of give.
Just a little,
it has good tooth feel. I know.
You got good tooth. You're al dente. I throw you against a wall, you stick.
That's actually going to be relevant coming up.
Oh, shit.
Incredibly. You have these weird, you just know.
I'm just like a psychic.
Okay, so we move on to January 2nd, 2018. We're 2 years in the future now. Anthony kicks the show off with Ron Bennington. Unfortunately, Ron is not alone. This time we're also joined by Owen Benjamin. Benjamin is a former comedian who got his start, like a lot of would-be funny people, in the 2010s online. He starred in a comedy web series called Gay Town, showing his hardships and prejudices he would experience as the only straight person in an all-gay town.
I wish I knew what the jokes were, because I imagine that they all just point to homophobia.
Yeah,
as the problem.
It's just inverted homophobia. It's just, hey, what are you doing here?
Thanks for making the point for us.
Yeah. Not limited to poorly aged scripted comedy, Owen also tried his hand at poorly written novelty songs, like this one I found footage of him performing on the Oprah Winfrey Network YouTube, being introduced by Tyrese and Reverend Run.
What?
I don't know. There's a clip where there was some variety show, and there's a clip of Owen Benjamin. This is his brand of humor. You know, man, I'm just sitting at a piano singing songs.
I was just gonna say, no Stephen Lynch.
No.
Even though, we all know how Stephen Lynch aged.
Yeah.
Was there one song that wasn't problematic?
Not Special Ed.
Nope.
Not the Lullaby song, if you remember that one.
Yeah.
Not the Priest song.
No. The fact that you're making a joke out of the harm that priests have done is problematic.
True.
But I feel like it's more
it's
just
at
like
the expense of the priests.
Yeah,
not the victims.
Yeah,
that might be borderline.
I'm not a victim of it, so I'm not going to speak on it. But it's a little more dubious in my head.
Yeah. Owen had roles in The House Bunny, Jack and Jill, and co-starred with Christina Ricci in All's Fair in Love.
House Bunny. Well, who was he in House Bunny? Was he the love interest?
No, he just had like a bit part in that. He had a bit part in Jack and Jill too. The only main role he had was he had a recurring role in some CBS comedy about like a bar that only ran for like a couple episodes. From here, Benjamin turned his attention back to YouTube, where he naturally became a right-wing religious vlogger, ranting with the same wooden delivery you'd see in his acting and singing.
Wait, why doesn't he do it with a piano?
He does.
Okay.
He still does songs, but we hear one.
Wait, does he do alt-right ranting?
Yeah.
With the piano?
You'll hear it in a second.
It's better.
It's great. Influenced by the likes of Jordan Peterson, Benjamin slipped further and further down the alt-right rabbit hole, working with PragerU, The Daily Wire, Steven Crowder, and InfoWars, lashing out in defense of Trump and racist jokes. This devolved even further to attacking an NPR host for supporting his transgender child. This led to the University of Connecticut to cancel an upcoming show, and Benjamin's talent agency dropped him as a client. Cancel culture. Coming for his throat. During the various points in his live streams, Benjamin repeated anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, referred to gay sex as degeneracy, and called Barack Obama the N-word. But there's also this.
Look, there's the chain. It's been sawed in half. Someone definitely took my bike. Is it that guy? Hey, you! Is that my bike? Oh no, it's not a bike at all. It's a sandwich. He's holding a sandwich. It couldn't be the black guy over there sitting on the thing that looks exactly like my bike. Because everyone thinks, everyone gives black people a hard time, and I'm not going to be a racist, even though it does have my name written on it the exact way I wrote my name on it. Should I say something? No. I don't want to perpetuate any stereotypes, but that nigger stole my bike!
Now that's bad. It's very bad.
Was there more?
I mean, it's serious. That video went on for like 5 minutes.
Is there something worse?
No. This isn't worse. It's an aside. It's unoriginal.
It's
Nigga stole my bike. Nigga stole my bike. Nigga stole my bike.
Yeah, it was kind of like a meme there for a while. They took the clip of Punch Out.
Yeah, I remember
with the training montage of Punch Out where the song plays, and it has this voiceover saying, "N-word just stole my bike."
I don't remember it though offhand.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay.
And Benjamin does the exact same thing, even with the same music and everything. So he just ripped off this meme video and tried to make a political statement out of it. Fast forwarding to April of 2018. This is after the show we're going to listen to.
Okay.
This is a little bit in the future, just to give you more reference as to who Owen is. He turned his attention to the Parkland shooting survivor and activist David Hogg, tweeting, and I don't know what this was referenced to, "Feel free to try to boycott me. I don't have sponsors because I don't need them. Oopsies. Anyway, when do you grow pubes? Don't you think it's weird that you were telling grown men how to live when you barely have pubes? College is gay, by the way. Enjoy gay college." And was subsequently suspended from Twitter. So deplatformed, Benjamin wasn't left with many places to turn except Compound Media. This was until 2019 when Owen goes off the grid and becomes a survivalist flat earther, isolated in the woods with his family. On a December 2019 episode of The Anthony Cumia Show, Ant discusses videos Owen has been posting on Facebook, arguing with followers questioning his flat earth beliefs. The anti-Semitism, extreme racism, that's no problem. But being a flat earther is a bridge too far for Anthony. He doesn't want to badmouth Benjamin too much, but he does think it's worth bringing up on the show to discuss with his guests. One of them suggests Benjamin's children should be taken away from him for their own safety, which Anthony laughs at, but believes would be an overreaction. Fast forwarding to September 2022, when Benjamin is visited by Child Protective Services and blames Anthony.
What?
By this point, Benjamin began working on a project to create a compound on his property he owns in Boundary County, Idaho. County residents filed a complaint with the county permissions over allegations that he had violated zoning provisions while expressing concerns that he was forming a Ruby Ridge-style compound on his property.
Ugh.
In September 2022, Anthony felt he needed to stand up for his friend Gavin when Owen Benjamin called Gavin out for pretending to be raided by the FBI during a live stream. Do you happen to remember this?
No.
Gavin
was
going on a vacation for a couple weeks, so he wasn't going to be doing his show on Compound on a censored TV. So he decided to stage a FBI raid as sort of a cliffhanger for people to be like, "Whoa, this is weird." It's a weird joke. I don't understand. Gavin's sense of humor is really off base. So Owen thought this was kind of shitty and messaged him, and he was like, "Hey, are you going to tell people that this wasn't real?" And Gavin was like, "No, don't tell anybody this wasn't real. I want this bit to keep going." So he puts Gavin on blast, so Anthony feels like, well, Gavin's my friend now. I need to come to his defense. Anthony calls out Benjamin for having scammed people himself by donating to his proposed Beartaria compound, which was advertised as a survivalist training commune. Anthony says he will, quote, "never take a flat earther seriously, but also stands up for Benjamin's right to say whatever he wants, however paranoid or racist he might be." He wants to keep all these possible doors open for people who might want to come back on his show at some point.
But
even though by this point, Owen has expressed he has absolutely no interest on having anything to do with Anthony going forward because he shit talks flat earth theory.
why these people?
To have as in your circle?
Yeah, like, if you want as many doors open as possible, Wouldn't you want to be as neutral as possible?
Potentially, yeah.
You know,
that
like,
sounds like a good plan.
If you're hard leaning in any direction, that means you give a shit about something.
Yeah.
So, like, why admit that weakness?
Yeah, that is true.
Just from his own logic.
This is the new year in 2018. Anthony is dealing with his co-host Artie Lange in rehab. Soon he leaves the Anthony Cumia network altogether. We're in this weird gray period of not really knowing what the future holds. So Ron is here again to sit in for Artie to be his co-host. But Anthony is also dealing with the death of his mother.
Monday morning, I guess Monday is New Year's Day, yesterday morning, my sister calls me up and goes, well, Mom is dead. I'm like, oh, okay. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? She passed away at 8 a.m. yesterday from the wonderful, wonderful disease of Alzheimer's.
From what I've heard, and I learned this recently listening to WNEW shows, is that his grandmother also dealt with Alzheimer's, and Anthony had basically the same response to that too, of just, well, what are you gonna do? So I've heard
He's
him
literally like, what do I do?
Yeah.
When he says that, I hear, what do I do?
Did you notice when he says that his mom passed away, Ron's reaction? He puts his hands up and he's like, what?
Pipe bomb?
I'm guessing this is how we're all just gonna find this out?
And just his reaction, just like, what do you do?
And this is Ron's reaction.
I didn't know this about Ro, and I'm trying to remember the last time I hung out with her one night till like, me, her, and Dawn were at Bar 9 till like 5 in the morning or something.
Yeah.
It was fun. She was rocking. So I had no idea about any of this.
Ron had no idea that she even had Alzheimer's, although Anthony will say that she's been dealing with it for the last 5 years. So at no point did he talk about this to any of his close friends.
Yeah. And it's not something that you can trust or rely on somebody who has Alzheimer's to tell you.
Right.
You know?
He says that, him and his family just kind of noticed over time that things were getting a little sketch. She had basically, quote, been dead for the last 5 years. That's how Anthony refers to her. Like, she hasn't been the same. She hasn't been here for 5 years. So her actually passing is not a big deal to me. Because he basically wrote her off for the last 5 years.
I think he wrote her off much earlier in life.
Yeah.
Because what I was
would
wondering
say that.
Was when he says, like, when you tell me that he says she hasn't been here for like years, she hasn't been here for the past 5 years. A lot of times in like a traditional like nuclear family kind of situation or whatever, I guess they weren't a nuclear family, but almost. If a lot of times the father will commit violence and the mother will turn the blind eye and just allow it to happen. And in some situations, the children will be more hateful of their mothers than the fathers.
It is interesting that Anthony never shit talks his dad, even though he is an objectively bad person and he's done terrible things.
Within the frame of toxic masculinity, the dad was just doing his best. Dad was just trying to make him a man. The part of Anthony that realizes he should have had a better childhood and better parents will more often than not look to the mom to be like, you should have protected me.
Yeah, why did you let me go out to California? Why didn't you keep me here and protect me from things?
Yeah.
Why didn't you raise me better?
Mm-hmm.
Anthony was fired from XM in 2014, so I assume he just hasn't been in touch with Ron for the past few years, if Ron had no idea Anthony's mother's health was declining for the last 5 years. But hearing how Anthony talks about how he handles friendships, this isn't surprising.
Yeah.
Owen is having a hard time reading the room and the situation and established dynamic between Ant and Ron, and is bombing one pitiful joke attempt after another.
Oh, shit.
So Ron decides to take the show in a different direction, making it more personal and pulling stories out of Anthony so he can talk about his mother in a bit more of a caring way.
Good, you're sharing these stories. This is good for you.
It's wonderful. I
feel like
you're handling it well,
buddy.
You think I should cry,
Yeah, a little bit.
Ron?
Yeah.
Let me get some out.
Almost there.
I can't really squeak it out. No, I have unbelievably fond memories, but nothing I'm not. What do you do? And
I think the
How do you cry?
How do you cry?
Like,
And
how do you cry?
and Owen finds it hilarious, but you can tell Ron. This is what makes this episode so interesting: is Owen's reaction to things, and he's trying to appeal to Anthony in the side that he knows this could be jokey, whatever. Ron is trying to appeal to Anthony in a personal. We actually have a friendship. Owen is just here to basically leech off you and your relevancy to promote his own shit, to promote
Yeah.
his awful podcast called Why Didn't They Laugh, which is basically just about how people just don't find my shit funny anymore, and it's clearly their problem, not mine.
then you're fine. Like, I don't get it.
I don't think that you're trying hard enough to cry. Dude. It's not.
I don't know if
Yeah,
you
just-
do. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
All right, you sit there and you go like, okay, hold on.
Yes. Oh, okay. Then what do you do? How do you cry? You just sit there and you cry?
It's like, I understand him to a degree because I have a problem with this,
I just think it's
but not how
so
cynical.
telling.
Yeah, it's very telling.
Oh, okay, I'm good. Like, can't you do that without
Right.
the?
Can I tell you the problem? You're working from an external place.
Yeah.
You want to work from an internal place. Go ahead and
What's that place like?
well, something that where your feelings are. The fact of
Feelings.
Ron is assuming that he is in touch with any emotion other than anger.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't know Anthony as well as he thinks he does.
He's like I said, he's giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
That
It was
place
this
is
woman
long
raised
shuttered.
you. Yeah.
That place is long. No, I know, but I think of that stuff as like a good thing. Like it's nice. Oh, she raised us, and
Yeah, I mean, like, people deal with grief in different ways. Not everyone's gonna cry at a funeral.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, he says he went to the funeral, but, he didn't cry there, and,
Yeah.
he didn't eulogize because he said that's not something he does. He was just there.
Yeah.
He's dealing with it.
That's
But you,
valid.
but you already hear stuff like Anthony say, my emotions have been shuttered for a long time. And Owen just sitting over there like, oh, yeah.
Fuck emotions.
Just trying to
They're
feed into
gay.
it. Yeah.
we always had never wanted for anything. She worked very hard to raise 3 kids, and always like Christmas was always there. It wasn't like no Christmas this year, kids.
Right.
A lot of friends, always family. Never cut off from the family or anything.
You should feel great that in the last 5 years your brother went there once and melted down.
I didn't leave it in. His brother Joe went and visited his mom once and ended up in the hospital for anxiety because of it.
Oh.
It fucked him up real bad. So Anthony decided, I'm just not going to visit at all.
I get it. Like, that kind of shit is, like, it's scary.
Yeah.
Because you're faced with the mortality of, like, that person, and then, like, in turn, your own mortality.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I am not equipped to handle any of this. And then when you can't process the emotions, the obvious, deep, big emotions that are going to come from that kind of thing, you will have anxiety about it. You
Yeah.
might have a panic attack,
Mhm.
I feel terrible.
I don't know if that
I like that you're not crying. It makes me respect you more.
It's just a thing. Like, I don't get it.
I don't get why it's so great for dudes to cry all the time. I see it as very weird.
Okay.
I don't get why it's so great that dudes cry all the time.
What is
What dudes
cry-
do you know about? We're
Yeah.
toxic masculinity barely lets you even think about the concept of crying. Like,
Crying's weird. I don't like it. I respect you for not showing What? What the fuck are you even saying? Owen is trying so hard, and this is a thing, too. Owen will latch himself on to other male figures and has admitted that it is because of deep-seated daddy issues. He wanted Jordan Peterson's admiration so bad. He had him on his podcast. I was like, hey, did you see this tweet I made? And I really called this guy out. It was so funny. Did you see it? Did you see it? What'd you think of it? He's like, no, I
Damn.
missed that. I didn't see that.
so I already have this inkling that these big name guys who are very problematic all have childhood trauma.
Yeah.
But I also feel that a lot of people have childhood trauma. So that's not saying much. But-
Owen's mom left at a very young age, and this turned his father to be suicidal. He never took his own life, but all of this created a very weird environment for Owen to grow up in. So yeah, I would say 100% is a very weird environment.
But when you say that Owen was seeking the male approval, fatherly male approval from Jordan Peterson, Anthony could very well be doing that with people. Gavin might be doing it with somebody. If you grew up within like the realm of toxic masculinity and an abusive father, there's going to be a lot of emotions going on that you don't know how to deal with. And if you also live within the realm of white supremacy as a white cishet man, then your privilege is all you have, which is a lot, but like it is all you have when it comes to like who you are as a person. Because a lot of times when you have experienced trauma, your sense of identity is skewed and you have difficulty figuring out who you are outside of all of that.
Yeah.
And so if all you have is your position within our current society as a white cishet man, then you would be seeking approval from other white cishet men who claim that as part of their identity. You're gonna want to seek their approval.
Yeah. And I think...
Because they're like me. They're like my dad.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's necessarily a dad thing with Anthony and Gavin, but it's definitely from like-minded people at the very least in their same age range.
Thing.
Like Anthony definitely seeks approval from Gavin. Gavin seems to seek approval from people like Alex Jones.
That's what I was thinking.
And there's always a chain, you know? You either, you have to latch on to somebody. A seal of approval from them would be to basically say like that you share ideology. That's the only thing they're going to show approval for, is that you mirrored what they say. And you see this in Anthony, you see this in Gavin, and that I don't really believe they have many strong core feelings about anything.
Yeah.
It seems like they just mirror what they've been told from other people.
And you can see that with people growing up in childhood and stuff.
Yeah.
They just want to mirror their parents.
Yeah.
For approval, to stay safe.
And I'm sure to some of that degree, some of the things Anthony expresses are mirrored from things his parents had said, because he says at one point that his mom was very liberal when he was growing up, well, very anti-war and all this, but as she got older, she got very conservative. So Anthony probably just gravitated and mooched off and just kind of learned all that behavior from her.
I feel like you're being a little defensive here. I feel like you're blocking it.
I'm blocking a little.
When you start to riff like that, I wonder if you're really getting into
that. I should be
present.
Should be
more present.
A little more within.
Here with us right now.
I don't know. How do you you're not just...
It's not your fault. It's not your fault. That's it. A little bit. It's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
You know what?
Do you hear Owen also saying it's not your fault, like he knows the joke or understands what's going on? He doesn't.
That is a huge thing to hear.
Yeah.
For someone who has trauma, so I on one hand, I think it's very funny.
Right.
To be saying that to someone acting like they're a brick wall.
Yeah.
But
literally sitting in front of a big brick wall.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I hope some little part of him hears it.
Yeah.
And ingests it.
I feel like if Owen wasn't here as this weird barrier, this probably would have helped.
Mm-hmm.
But Owen is hurting everything Ron is trying to do, and it makes it very frustrating. Because you saw how Anthony reacted to it. He was dizzied by it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. I really relate to Ron. Like from what you showed me in this episode, I relate to Ron a shit ton.
Yeah.
Mostly because I tend to take the role of like therapist with my friend groups. But yeah, I've literally said that to people multiple times for like multiple things, because so many people feel like they've been victimized or out of control in situations that have fucked them up, and it's just like, hey, it's not your fault.
Yeah, you didn't do
anything. That means
anything.
a lot.
Yeah, you didn't bring this on.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine.
It's not your fault.
You know what? Let's think of it from the good side of this.
All right.
Ro went out thinking you and Opie were at the top. That's nice. She still thinks you have your driver's license, access to your guns.
Never went to jail.
Yes.
You lost access to your guns?
For a little while. Yeah. That's what happens when you get a restraining order against you for no fuck reason.
Crazy.
Yeah. Now that's
By the way,
when
that's
when
your
I
fault.
cried.
That was your fault.
I'll hold you accountable for that shit.
That was your fault. Yeah. Do you hear the only thing Owen fucking latched onto was they took your guns? The things that Gavin gets riled up about are so frustrating.
Owen, not Gavin.
Owen, yeah. Yeah, I mean, essentially.
Same thing.
Yeah, might as well.
My kid's so young, he's just like a little bear, this cartoon. It's just really mellow.
How old's your kid?
1.5. Got another one on the way, though.
Wow.
10 weeks in.
Look at you.
Yeah, just making a count with my ween.
Doing your fucking job.
That's right, Barry. Not pulling out. Not like Iraq 1, baby. Leaving it in.
Leave it in. What are you doing?
The job is done.
You're trying your best for some repopulate the old white race here on.
One kid at a time, man. Gotta outbreed the other guys.
Holy shit! Where am I all of a sudden? That actually became a topic.
It's I think it's always a topic in the back of our minds.
Yeah, gotta make it count.
Ron is like semi-dissociating from the
Yeah,
conversation.
did you see how long it took him to...
And then he's just like, wait, we're
What?
talking about repopulating the white race?
Whoa,
Like,
wait.
what show am I on?
Ron's reactions to Owen's attempts at comedy are just... He doesn't care that Owen is even there.
He's been like stonewalling him the entire time.
Yeah, he does eventually push back on some things. But yeah, now all of a sudden, the tone decides to change a little bit, and it becomes more about Ant and Owen, and Ron is just kind of there.
And you see it when you see kind of everyone in bed with other things, the government, the mainstream media, news, Hollywood, the entertainment business. Like it's all this, they're all working together, you know?
Are you saying Jews? Is that what this is going?
Look,
Banks and
honey,
Jews.
we have our way of saying mainstream media,
Okay, I didn't know.
Hollywood,
Good.
Washington.
There's a code.
All right, I'm learning.
All right, we'll just look. I won't even say it, but let's label
Muslims,
each
we
one.
call them the
This'll be
chiropractors.
J. These are E, and this is W. Mainstream media. That's it. If you want to work it that way.
Oh, okay, I'm learning, Ron says.
I'm learning. Thank you for educating me on your view.
Owen will lean back on this one thing that fucked up his career, was talking about the NPR host doing the terrible thing of supporting their trans child that Owen sees as being evil and calls him a pedophile because of it. And Anthony feeds into this. And just like, yeah, you were silenced for just speaking your mind. What's going on? So yeah, there is the narration of the Jewish people have control. It's something that Anthony will still say to this day in 2022 that we've heard Gavin try to rework. Like they were saying, we have code.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's still something.
Say it with your whole fucking chest.
It's like you've been saying this for so long. You can't keep getting away with this.
Yeah, I think it's so fucking silly how like anti-Semitism is like, no, we gotta be like subdued about it. It's like, but everyone knows what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I mean now, after the episode of Alex Jones where he had Nick Fuentes on and Ye, and Alex Jones was trying to apply the code to what they were talking about, trying to help them say what they meant and what he agrees with, but in a way that is more palpable to mainstream people.
And it's harder to sue them about.
Owen Benjamin won in his live, and he was like, fuck Alex Jones. I know you have Jewish people controlling your show. And it's like, he is 100% off the rails. He has a backup Twitter now. He was kicked off in 2014, but he has another one. And yeah, it's all Yay 2024. I'm with Yay. Now he just wants approval from that clique, I guess, because no one else is even paying any attention to him.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy when you see a dad putting his kid on hormone blockers to be like, you think we're the bad guys? You know what I'm saying? It's like there's certain lines that when you cross, it's like, you know, like if the SS back in the day were like, hey, Franz, we have skulls on our lapels. Do you think we might be the fucking bad guys?
He's just referencing the fucking "are we the baddies" meme, but it didn't even apply it right.
And then compared like trans people to Nazis.
Yeah, comparing people giving hormone blockers to children as being Nazis, just inherently evil.
Like, so do you think, obviously I'm preaching to the choir here.
Yeah.
But like, do you think that if he was he was in the doctor's office with his kid, and kid is like, oh yeah, this is a male. Your kid's a male, and he's about to be 13, and his hormones aren't looking where they should be for the average male at his age. We're thinking about giving him more hormones to make sure that he stays on track with, being a male.
Right.
You think he'd have any pushback to that?
No.
Zero pushback.
Not at all. Yeah.
It's like when you see a 4-year-old. When you see a 4-year-old kid and they're being treated like a girl when they're a boy biologically, and it's because their fucking stupid dad wants brownie points at their San Fran fucking cocktail parties. There's no way to argue that for me.
Yeah, this is an argument that Owen and Ant both seem to have.
That, it's just for the parents' benefit.
That it's trendy and cool.
To have a trans kid.
Yeah, because parents are notoriously supportive and loving of when their kids come out as trans and they're fully understanding.
Parents,
that they push it.
Love to have more complications in terms of how they know how to raise their children.
And if they can force that on their kids and it isn't the kids' actual choice themselves, that's great. I can make all of our lives harder that's great. Just so I can brag at a PTA meeting?
Have you ever read an article, somebody's opinion, an experience where you went, all right, they're making a valid point for this child being of another gender?
Never once.
Never once.
Never, nor will I ever. And that's
That's open-minded.
No, it's and the thing is I was always open-minded to all this shit because I had a transsexual piano teacher as a kid and good person.
Jokes.
Yeah, no, but it's not, you can't inflict this shit on kids. And you can't change your biology with fucking hormone shots. Your endocrine system's locked, your XX, XY, these are fucking facts.
That's ROM.
Yeah.
That's ROM, not RAM. Can't be changed.
Well,
Are you genuinely comparing the gender binary to the difference between random access memory and a CD-ROM?
Yeah. Or was it read-only?
Read-only memory?
Yeah. Anthony loves his technology and computers.
You don't know shit about technology then, dude.
And so once it goes to the kids, that's when I can't imagine people not standing up for kids. It's you can do what you want with your life, but
that's what we tried to do with David Koresh. You know what I mean? It was all about the kids.
It struck me that Ron would mention David Koresh, the cult leader head of the
Branch Davidians,
who was at the center of the 1993 Waco siege.
Oh, okay.
Seeing as how, in current day, people are calling out Benjamin's cult-like behavior.
It always becomes saying, change them because they're hurting kids, or anytime they want to send us into a war, it's always rape rooms.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
rape
so deeply instinctive in us.
Yeah.
Dude, it's something that comes down to every fucking child custody case. Every father molests their kid now in a court when they say that the mother should get custody. Here's the divorce here. You get two people so angry at each other that they're going to pull out the atom bomb each time on each one in order to get what they want. So the mother will say, well, the father molests the kids. And what's that proof? Well, he had the daughter in their bed once watching TV, and I wasn't comfortable with it. And all of a sudden now it always boils down to that.
Is this when the tears?
Oh, that's crazy.
I had nothing to do with that.
These people are only utilizing children as pawns.
Yeah.
At no point are they considering the child's actual welfare and children's rights.
Yeah, no. They are still of the mindset that this is parents pushing an agenda onto the kids and not the kids thinking this for themselves.
Yeah.
But then if they bring that up, they would then throw in these kids aren't old enough.
That's what I'm saying.
To
they think kids are stupid and don't know a thing.
Exactly.
They don't know themselves.
Yeah, no.
And it's do you?
Yeah.
Do any of us know ourselves more than when we were kids, really?
We'll get to it more and more as we go, but there are plenty of stories of Anthony being yelled at and abused by his father for expressing himself in different ways that, yeah, I'm sure Anthony sees children being trans, being happy, being supported by parents, and having a sort of resentment of just why are you getting what I didn't get?
Much like the whole student loan forgiveness shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Blocked.
Why should you get it when I didn't get it? He can't comprehend the idea that they would have this complex feeling and that parents would actually be supportive of it.
Yeah.
Because they didn't get anything even remotely close to that themselves.
No.
It's sad, but it doesn't give you an excuse to be a fucking prick.
Not at all.
Was it weird for you to tell your friends when you were a kid that
I didn't tell them anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want
That
anything.
was-
I got uncomfortable.
Back then it was still kind of quiet.
There was like
Oh.
shame in divorce back then.
We'd watch movies on TV, the ABC 8 o'clock Tuesday night movie or something.
Yeah.
And it was like Robbie Benson in a very special story of, and like his parents get divorced, and I would sit there and heat up. I like couldn't look around the room. It was like, no, don't do a divorce story. I was embarrassed. Very embarrassing. My dad used to still go to the school things, like the father-son breakfast thing, like that. Yeah.
And they would be like, well, Anthony seems like he's been peeing himself a lot lately. Is anything going on at home? Just covered in piss.
It was. I don't think I did cry a lot, but I didn't. I don't recall pissing
What
myself.
made you cry?
Everything. Drop of a hat.
What made you cry?
Yeah, he's very...
When did that stop?
When his dad would call him pissy eyes.
Just pummel the emotion right out of the kid. I'm a man, I'm a father, I have a son. Who better be masculine?
Oh.
Oh, they're not expressing the masculinity that I am comfortable with? I think I'm gonna impose more masculinity. I don't call them hormone blockers. I call them, like, my left and right fist.
Yeah.
And I'm going to block my kid from feeling anything that I don't want them to.
Anthony's childhood, oh, that's what we all dealt with when we were kids, right? I'm sure if Anthony actually spoke up about how he was treated at home, most of the kids in his class would probably be like, excuse me, what?
Be like,
what's happening?
and that's why they don't want you to talk about it.
No.
It's just such a funny, tragic double standard.
Yeah.
That people who uphold toxic gender binary roles are also the same people who say you can't validate your kid's choice to be trans, and on the off chance that you're the one who wants your kid to be trans, how dare you? Because you're messing with your kid physically then. When I do it, it's just I'm slapping them. That's different. That's temporary.
It's cool when they do it. It's a problem when I do it.
You know, Stalin didn't kill his slaves. He's like, no, the Ukrainians, you guys work. You know, Hitler was like, the Jews must die. No, you get them to build tanks. That was
Not only
Stalin's
that,
move.
but the fucking scientists were all Jews, and he chased them
Yeah.
out to the Allies. So it's like, oh, well, you probably could have had an atom bomb.
That's what's happening right now in Hollywood.
There's the bomb and then to the moon.
Yeah, right.
That's what's happening in Hollywood right now. That's why all the comedy sucks, because most comedians are like at least partially libertarian, and we're all fucking leaving.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you lockstep order comedy, and it's like, well, you just took out all the comedy, so we'll fucking beat you on YouTube.
Hollywood comedies.
Oh my God.
Isn't any.
It's unreal. It's just watching it. It's unreal.
Anti-comedy.
It's the worst.
Opposite of comedy.
Groupthink comedy. It's a joke.
Most conservative shit is just echoing the exact same thoughts
Yeah.
and jokes over and over and over
Well,
again.
Like, what do you think comedy is if not groupthink? What do you think memes are if not groupthink?
It has to resonate with people, doesn't it?
It has to resonate with more than just you.
People aren't going to understand what you're talking about. To some degree. Yeah.
Like, when I do a funny thing to make you laugh, it's because I understand how you think,
Yeah.
and I want you to laugh at it.
And I like how Owen is saying most of us are leaving. No.
Who is us?
There's really not
You and
that
your tight group of comedian friends? Who?
Yeah, that we've never heard of. And then you have the fucking nerve to say we'll beat you on YouTube. Like, who the fuck is talking about conservative YouTube comedians?
I just see Ron just going like,
Yeah, he just lets Owen...
just watching the volley.
Yeah, what else are you gonna do? What else are you gonna say?
Yeah.
He knows comedians who have been in the industry. He is a comedian. He started out as a comedy club owner.
So he knows what he's doing right now.
Yes.
When you're sitting in the audience, not laughing, not engaging, that's worse than booze.
Yeah, I mean, why would Owen call his fucking podcast Why Didn't They Laugh if it
Yeah.
didn't matter to him so much that people didn't laugh?
Yeah, and they're volleying to each other, hoping the audience, Ron, the working audience, is gonna laugh. And he's just like,
Oh, this is interesting.
So you said something, and then now you're saying, okay, whatever. You're saying some shit now. Now you okay?
Yeah, what's a good? Is there
isn't any good comedy.
something that was supposed to be a good comedy?
No, I mean Norm Macdonald's Netflix.
Oh, I love
It's awesome. Like but you watch Patton
Hitler's
Oswalt, and you're
dog?
like, yeah, like Patton Oswalt. People that at one point were funny too, and you're watching them just degenerate into madness.
Yeah, now they're just too angry and have to talk about Trump and
they're saying things that aren't objectively true. And like comedy, even if you're wrong, you at least have to say what you see. You know, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like.
Yeah, Patton's gone way.
Oh, dude,
off
Sarah
the rails.
Silverman. I used to love her jokes, and now it's like a disaster.
Sarah Silverman. Yeah, I came in the house the other day and it was on. Like, I must have left the channel on or something.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I couldn't get to the remote fast enough.
Oh, dude, I'll just start yelling. I'll yell, and my wife's like, "Just watch Norm again." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
This is great.
I'll just start yelling at the TV. I can't even handle myself. I say,
La 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 la. What are you, a child?
It's rich to hear Owen say that comedians have delved into madness when you look at his trajectory. Like, you've just become a ranting, raving anti-Semite who is just in the woods with your guns and family trying to protect yourselves from, like, globalists. Like,
yeah, it's so weird. I just can't understand that point of view. That everyone else is fucking crazy. I'm the sane one.
yeah. So, of course, you think that you're under attack because everybody else seems to be united. And if you're not, they're united against you.
Yeah.
So now you have to defend yourself. Now you have to give $400 to Owen Benjamin so you can join this commune. And then he just takes the money and buys a lot of shit with it and doesn't actually invite anybody to his compound and just scams people out of millions.
I guess what you're saying does make sense now. Like, everyone else is uniting. And I'm not on that boat. Fuck, that's scary.
I'm right.
I still don't agree with them, but now their numbers are growing and they're becoming more vocal, and that's scary. Like, that's why people who disagree with Black Lives Matter, like, just as a concept, that's why those people are like, oh shit, it's a gang, it's like a mob, and they're out for blood, and they're like what do they call them? Hate group. Some people try to call them a hate group,
or like terrorists.
Yeah, like, terrorists and stuff like that. And it's just like, just because like black people are trying to fight for their like lives.
Yeah,
like
they can't be fighting for their lives unless they're fighting
against ours.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that comes back down to how white people in the West, at least, are so afraid of black people having power because they worry black people are just going to enslave white people as revenge. And
because
it's just
all
like,
they know. Because it's what
it's all white people know.
Yeah, it's like they're going to naturally do what we did and want to do.
Yeah, it's
because they think the same way we do, clearly. It's like,
yeah, like
why do you think they would go to that place?
White people had so much colonial and conquering momentum.
Advantage, yeah.
By the time they started enslaving black people, they had already been enslaving other people.
Yeah.
It's just like this like lack of compassion and thoughtfulness.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like, maybe these groups have been on uneven playing field for so long that they just want to be on even playing field. Do you really think we want to like go through the effort of being like head honcho of the world? Like
Grand Poobah?
Grand the Poobah? Like, just fucking, why is equality such a threat to privileged white people?
Because they don't think it's going to stop at equality.
Yeah, they think
why would you stop at equality when you could have superiority?
Yeah.
Because that's what we do.
Like,
so
they
that's
think it's human nature.
The Daily Show guy that, and he's just like, it's just lies.
Yeah.
Like, what are your fucking jokes? It's always bad when a crowd is clapping and not laughing.
But
that's some Stalin shit? Wow.
They're all pro-Hillary. They're all liberal. Which, I mean, even if they're not, that's the majority opinion. So it's just marketable to appeal to the majority mindset by like, oh, most people are liberal minded. So he's saying that when you have these shows that are doing this and everyone in the audience is just laughing, not laughing, but agreeing and applauding, that's authoritarian. That's, yeah, it's a really...
Yeah, because these comedians are all rulers.
Yeah,
they're all in public office and dictate.
All of it's propaganda, but not the propaganda on the right. It's different.
So therefore it's lies.
Yeah, it's lies because it's different.
Yeah.
It's like Stalin shit, where they're like, first it's like, ha 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 ha.
Wow, great fake laugh.
I wanted to show you.
Instead of like, ah ha 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 ha.
Ha ha ha. Yeah, this guy is this guy acts like a sociopath. He's fucking creepy as hell.
I mean, cult leaders often exhibit a lot of sociopathic tendencies.
Yeah. And this is where it comes down to, like, he's saying things to try to appeal to Anthony. Anthony is, like, going like, yeah. Like, he's barely giving him any feedback.
Yeah.
And then Owen kind of gives over the top feedback to Anthony to try to be like, oh, no, that was very funny. I'm
giving it to you, so you give it back to me.
Please. And Ron is still just sitting there.
I love
staring.
whenever what's-his-face, Barry Owens, looks over at Ron and just goes like, just looks away really quickly like, oh, fuck, I can't look at that one person in the audience that's really giving it to me hard.
Yeah, he always looks for Ron to see if he's laughing, and he never is.
It's like, yeah, I get you now. No, oh, fuck.
Oh, shit.
Like looking a predator in the eyes. Like,
yeah.
don't look him in the eyes.
You know?
Yeah.
That's just what I think. I don't fucking know. I'm sorry. I'm
No,
probably
you
just
do
alienated
know.
a bunch
I
of
agree
people.
wholeheartedly.
I don't care about alienating people, though. I got chickens and residual checks and shit.
That's it, right?
I don't need a lot, man.
That's
You
it.
don't need that much in this world. I got a gun.
I don't need a lot. No, why are you asking people for money?
I don't need a lot. And the last thing he says is, I have
got
a
my
gun.
guns.
He says, I got chickens. I got money.
Residual checks.
Never mentions family.
Owen's been, a lot of people have been telling you to go fuck yourself, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that great? When you just voice your opinions that maybe a 4-year-old
shouldn't be transgender. Yeah, all it does is show me who's full of shit, because it's like, I know I'm not wrong. I'm not going to say I'm right about everything, but like, I'm not, like, I know that's wrong.
You were calling the parent a pedophile.
Yeah, that's a
not
bit
just speaking your mind.
Yeah, that's a bit further.
Yeah, so, man, fuck. And like, Anthony's still just like, isn't that great? Because he's talking from a place of, same thing happened to me, I lost my job. We know what you tweeted, dude. We actually got a comment on an old video when we were talking about Anthony's tweets. Oh, so the words of Anthony's tweets are worse than the actions of the people that attacked him. And I responded saying, well, there's only proof of one of those things.
Yeah, there really is.
There's only proof of the tweets. And I don't believe anything Anthony says.
And the fact that he had a camera and didn't get any proof, except for a picture of the person like 5 feet away from him.
Yeah, like, I don't know, man. And to know how, and we'll get to this in the next episode, how Anthony hates altercations, I don't believe for a second that he would have went home, had the wherewithal to post all the... He just would have been a fucking wreck.
I'm not going to say that I 100% think that he didn't get into a fight that night.
He probably... I mean, I don't think he got beat up by multiple people. He probably was confronted to some degree.
There was some kind of confrontation that happened.
Yeah, I mean, the two pictures of that woman, she did not look happy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do believe that she probably did present some type of pushback.
But I feel like if he was beat up, he would look for any evidence and take a picture.
Oh, he would have, yeah, if
He'd
he
be
had
like,
bruises.
my jacket is ripped. Take a picture.
Oh, yeah.
My lip is a little swollen. Take a picture. Up the saturation.
Yeah.
Like, he would really try to lean into it.
Yeah.
But all he had was just hearsay, so, like...
Yeah.
Like making a 4-year-old transgender. That's wrong. So anybody that calls me, like, hateful or whatever, I'm like, oh, so you're wrong. And it's very freeing to be like... And it's all these blue checkmark people. It's not even trolls. It's all these, like... writer for New York Times. I'm like, you bunch of fucking commie psychos. And I'm out. And it's been fun, man. And I thought my career was going to be done. I was even looking, I was like, I could be a teacher. I could just, I was doing tree work with my brother. That's why my hands are all fucked up, you know?
Tree work, like real men.
Yeah. You know, we like literally cut down trees. It's like, I had a broken toe from an axe 2 months ago.
Wait, you weren't wearing
Now I can
steel
make-
toe boots? What a fucking noob.
Yeah, what a fucking noob. And how about Anthony talking about doing tree work like real men? You don't do any of this
You
fucking shit,
refused to be a tin knocker, which is also real man work, in my opinion.
And no, you fucking could not have been a teacher. I just love how Owen's saying, I thought my career was going to be
Your
over.
reputation would have let you be a teacher? Honey.
No fucking
You
way.
realize the internet exists, and they're going to look you up.
I do love that only a few months from now, he's like, I thought my career would be over. He's deplatformed, his Twitter's gone, his Patreon is gone.
Yeah.
But it's like now I can make a living on like YouTube and Patreon and shit. And I'm like, fine.
Yeah.
It just was like this weird, because it's such it's a bunch of people that have no comedian really. There's a couple of us, but not really. You go on Netflix, every single one is like, women are oppressed. Donald Trump is literally Hitler, but you should give him your guns. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, Owen's taking solace in being one of the few comedians that conservatives can look towards, I guess. Even when there are plenty of people who actually are conservative comedians, but the
Yeah.
only ones you ever hear about are the super outspoken racist ones like Dave Chappelle now or Tim Allen. There are plenty of people who know what line to stop at.
Yeah, I mean, like, it makes more sense as a conservative, especially a fiscal conservative, to toe the line.
Yeah.
Because the moment you have to have a special kind of savings account if you can just go full fucking head into the wall with like saying it with your chest and everything, which I feel just say it all with your chest.
Yeah.
If you're racist, just say it. Just fucking so we all know.
You're so against censorship. You're so free speech. Just go ahead and say it,
then
bud.
say it. What do you want to say? Maybe it'll get through and it'll live on for eternity. And
Yeah,
then
you don't know.
And then you'll be so mad when you're held accountable.
Yeah.
It's not cancel culture they like. It's accountability culture they dislike.
There's some more news video about conservative comedy, mainly talking about Twitter pages like the Babylon Bee, which is like a conservative right-wing onion.
Oh.
When all their jokes are, I identify as, just every single fucking post.
Oh.
It's dog shit. But Cody actually does present some examples of conservative comedians who are genuinely funny. But it's just when you don't make your comedy hateful and you're not punching down on minorities. You can still, like he points out Larry the Cable Guy, you can still be a conservative and be a comedian.
Yeah.
But your comedy doesn't have to be hateful and bigotry filled.
Which I understand why some conservative comedians might find that to be a struggle. Because conservative doesn't just mean I would like to maintain the old ways and old laws. No, they want to conserve oppression.
Yeah.
They want to conserve keeping the little man down. They want to conserve lack of rights. They want to conserve lack of government overreach or whatever. And it's just like, which includes the government trying to protect people.
It's like, you can still be funny.
If
that's
you're so
not
fucking funny, make a joke that's not about these things.
Yeah.
The funniest
Prove
people
it.
should be able to make a joke about anything.
Exactly.
Make a joke about yourself.
Yeah. There's plenty there. Trust me.
I'm way funnier when I don't have to think at all. I'm just like, yeah.
I'm way funnier when I don't have to think at all. I'm like, ugh.
I'm just,
I want.
I like how you're literally comparing your jokes and comedy to vomit.
You're just fucking verbal diarrhea.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have to like censor and be like,
Well, that's what comics have to do nowadays is filter everything. Whereas it used to just fly out of your mouth, especially if you're trying out some new stuff.
Totally.
It flies out of your mouth. And now there's this perpetual just delay that you're now going to assess. And now everything that has to be filtered is your career.
oh yeah.
Your livelihood, your family.
It's so great that, like, this is the first time they've actually had to stop and think about what they say.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, my actions have consequences. I've never considered this.
Oh my god. This is unfair. This is oppression.
Yeah, and it's very funny for Anthony, who have been fired for jobs multiple times for things like the April Fool's Day prank. It's like, you didn't learn from that. Like, there's so many opportunities you could have learned, but you didn't. So you kept getting fucked over occupation-wise time
Yeah.
after time. And now, yeah, You don't have to think anymore now because you literally don't answer to anybody. The only people who have any power over Anthony at this point are the subscribers.
Yeah.
If he loses subscribers, then he loses this. But he doesn't answer to anyone. He can literally say anything he wants. It doesn't matter.
You guys are both locked into politics pretty heavy too, right?
I only did when they threatened me. It's that like I wasn't
in this conversation. You guys keep going back to
Well, it's kind of like when Rome finally got to the Franks. You know what I'm saying? It's like the government has expanded to the point where now it threatens my job. Whereas I was never doing these jokes in 2012, but I was doing jokes I wouldn't be allowed to do now.
So he thinks that it's the government.
The government's cracking down on comedy.
So wait, civilians holding you accountable for what you say and do is in fact the government overreaching.
Yeah, it couldn't possibly be individuals thinking for themselves.
So is everybody. So like once they hit that free speech situation, which they have now, in Canada, comedians can be sued for like real money. So it's like, okay, I'm going to fight you in open fucking field so everyone can see that you're cowards, and then you'll back off and I can go back to men and women are different jokes.
That's all I want to do. That's all I was doing. That's like Gavin when he was talking about the people protesting his Proud Boy show and just being like, all these people are mad that we're just making fun of this virgin guy. It's like, no, it's not, though. That's not what you do.
Everything you've done exists on the fucking internet. Like, we can see this stuff.
Like, granted, a lot of it has been removed because his YouTube, I don't think, exists anymore, and his Patreon's gone. So, yeah, there is very little evidence of all of that, but, I mean, I was able to find that fucking bike song, so that should be enough. That wasn't about men or women or anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I want to do. I play piano and talk about how men and women are fucking different.
Who's after you now, though? Where's the...
Well, in LA, there was a culture where, like, I would get emails from, like, my agent being like, you have to take this tweet down. You have to apologize for this tweet. CAA, Mm-hmm. And I would take tweets down, and I would feel horrible about it. I would feel like I was a coward because my shit, it started turning out I was right, and that's why I was like, I'm not going to be shamed into being a worse person.
So is it the government pushing down on you, or is it a culture?
Is it your agent?
Who you pay to represent you
and look out for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not working on behalf of culture.
Yeah, no.
They're working on behalf of you keeping your fucking job, dude.
Yeah, like...
And I saw some of his tweets. I mean, he was straight up using the N-word, making just serious racist jokes.
And I was right. And in the end, I was right.
These weren't men or women jokes at your fucking piano, you dickhead. You're just lying. Luckily enough, I guess Anthony doesn't know your work well enough because he doesn't give a fuck, and Ron isn't gonna look any of this shit up.
Ron can see through it all already, though.
Yeah, I love Ron's. Well, who's after you?
Yeah, who's after you? Are you gonna say Jews too?
Yeah, right. Like, I mean, you will in a few years.
Yeah,
I know that much.
Respecting the Constitution now makes you some sort of Hitlerian.
Nazi. Yeah, that's.
I'm like, yeah, and the Nazis were left wing too. I was a World War II history major, but fuck it.
There was such a long stretch of time that Ron hadn't said anything.
Yeah,
and then Ron engages with him, and he pulls out this fucking. Oh, well, I mean, like, when the Romans, like, approached the Franks or whatever, and Ron is just like, yeah, I get it. You know history. Like,
yeah, you're going to apply these things that 100% are not similar.
Not at all.
You're going to say, like, when Hitler and the Nazis came after Jewish people is like when your agent told you to delete a tweet. Go fuck yourself.
There's, like, this weird trend that I've noticed that people who are alt-right really like history.
Oh, they love history. Especially World War II Nazi history, coincidentally.
Yeah.
Oddly enough.
What a coincidence.
Right?
I used to live in the Czech Republic. That's textbook left wing. It's called National Socialism.
You studied history, eh? You're very quick to throw at the Nationalist Socialism. Socialism's right in the word.
It's the same thing.
I don't believe you studied anything then. If that's the fucking conclusion you're going to draw, you would know that's not the same fucking thing.
There's a really funny thing that happens in sophomore year of high school.
Yeah.
Which is why it is called sophomore.
Yeah.
Because people get this very sophomoric ideology that they know everything when they know nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just a great example of that.
Yeah. I lived in the Czech Republic, what, in the 90s? What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that have to do with anything you're saying?
You know, it's like right-wing dystopia would be Genghis Khan, but he wouldn't get away with that now with like BuzzFeed and shit. So it's all good.
Whew.
Anthony let that breathe a little too long.
Whew. Get it? He would have had a leg to
fucking
stand
air out of the
on.
room.
Because cancel culture, am I right?
Which is another joke I've heard from plenty of people on the internet.
It really is something where they say that, yeah, the First Amendment is a dog whistle or a little. You're tricking people into your right wing. And it's like, wow, that's
What?
really
What's that sentence you were just trying to say? The First Amendment, it's a dog whistle. You're tricking people into, yeah, I'm right wing. What the fuck does that, what are you talking about?
He applied for The Daily Show. He wanted to be a correspondent on The Daily Show. I didn't include this. They said he sent an audition tape or a resume to try to get on The Daily Show. And his agent looked at it and said, hey, don't put in anything about, you're pro-free speech or anything, because that could be perceived as a dog whistle. So that's how they're going up. It's like, wow, it's so crazy. Even being pro-free speech now is a dog whistle. It's like, well, when the things you're wanting to say are right-wing, then yeah, it is a dog whistle.
Yeah, the only people screaming about free speech right now are people who want to incite violence.
Yeah, there's a reason you can't say the things you want to say. Like, you don't see the things, like, I don't need to explain this, but, like, I was trying to find a way to formulate it, but it's just like, y'all know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, we get it.
It's really some Orwellian shit right there.
And the fact that I didn't know, I'm like, you know who hears dog whistles? Fucking dogs. I'm not a dog. I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. You think that's a right-wing fucking dog whistle that I'm saying free speech is important? My dad's a speech professor.
Oh my god. Put it on your CV, bro. Like, what the fuck?
I wanted to bring this up because Anthony had retweeted a video of Joe Biden talking. It was the day they lit up the White House with the rainbow colors, and I think it was the day they codified the Marriage Equality Act. It's like last week or the week before.
Oh, yeah.
And he was talking about we need to cut out this fucking trans oppression. Y'all, this shit's fucked up. Joe Biden just said that. It was amazing. He said this shit's fucked up, and the crowd popped huge.
Fucking viral shit.
Yeah, it went big style. Anthony retweeted it saying something to the effect of like, yeah, we're just gonna sit back as they're cutting off healthy breasts of young girls. And of course, he would only be talking about young girls. And whenever Anthony's talking about children and breasts in the same section, it makes me extremely uncomfortable. But he also called that Orwellian. I don't think you know what the fuck you're talking about.
I think my point was you guys seem just as heated as if you lost the election, though. Like, both you guys are really locked in.
We've had some big laughs, and his mom just died.
I'd have been bitching if Hillary won, of course. I was bitching when Obama won twice, but I sure as shit was able to continue with my life without having to hold a protest and burn a fucking town down or,
I think it's worth pointing out right now that people were literally burning Obama effigies when he got elected.
Yeah.
Ron just posed a simple question, like, y'all are locked into the politics. Like, y'all are complaining an awful lot. This is after you have the fucking presidency, the House, and the Senate. Y'all fucking won. What the fuck are you still complaining about?
But that's not what they wanted to win.
No. It's like, just be fucking happy. I don't understand why y'all can't just be happy right now.
Yeah, it's just a great example. Like, that's not what they wanted to win. They want to win power without question.
Yeah. It's like, that's not enough. That's why Trump was enough. That's why DeSantis was enough, because they're not going to give you what they want.
Say that people are crazy, try to either assassinate him or get him thrown out of office. Like, everyone that hated Obama being president went about their business, did their business, led their lives under President Obama.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ. To see someone who literally melted down in front of our eyes on XM once Obama got elected, it's extremely rich and funny to hear Anthony say this. You literally became
fine about it.
You became a completely different person.
Yeah,
when Obama got elected.
He's mentioned that, like, that's something that polarized him politically.
Yeah, like, that was what he finally decided to start talking out against. Like, yeah, I'd be bitching if Hillary... Like, yeah, I'm sure, but not... Like, probably not to the same degree.
Yeah, because that's a white woman. It's a woman, but it's a white woman.
That's very true. I just... It's so... It's just... that's just a lie. Like, that's just patently untrue.
So much self-denial.
Yeah, it's like, to act like... Well, first of all, the reason people are trying to get Trump thrown out of office was because he did literal illegal shit.
Yeah, he's committed crimes.
Yeah, Obama
scammed people.
Didn't do the same thing.
He's committed crimes, but like
not the ones y'all would give a fuck about.
Yeah, exactly. You're fine with war crimes.
Yeah, it's like the only reason y'all were pissed was because Obama was black.
Yeah,
and
they couldn't dig deeper as to these are some valid reasons. All you had was that he was a black man.
We'll listen to it sometime in the future because I don't think we could sit around and wait in chronological order because it would take years to get to. But I want us to listen to the episode after Obama won.
Yeah.
Because the things Anthony talks about are videos and interviews of people just, like, black people being very happy and saying, like, wow, things might actually change. And he's like, what's going to change? What are y'all talking about?
He's so scared.
Yeah. Of literally nothing.
Of literally nothing.
There was no evidence of anything, and he was just some paranoid nut. There's a reason gun sales skyrocketed during the Obama administration, and you're over here talking about, there was no attempts on his life, like there weren't constant threats.
Yeah, it's not like they have, like, for all presidents, have, like, 24/7 Secret Service on them.
The Tea Party was founded in direct result of Obama being elected.
Yeah.
Like, we saw the rise of the Proud Boys. Like, how are you going to act like we just went about our lives?
Yeah.
Numerous hate groups were started because Obama was elected.
Yeah, and it's not even as if, like, Obama was doing sweeping things to help liberate and help black people.
We'll be the first to tell y'all he didn't do nearly as much progressive shit as any of us wanted him to do.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, he was a real piece of work. He didn't do shit.
I don't believe any president actually has power.
No. You have to answer to so much.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't expect anything from a president. It's all just bullshit.
No.
People that don't want to lead their lives under President Trump are losing their fucking minds.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they're losing their minds because Trump, as a group leader, is leading a group of people that want marginalized groups to not exist.
Yeah. It's a direct threat to their lives.
At no point, like, you might find some people in the black community who are like, oh no, like, literally, like, kill white people. Like, okay, you could find that in any community.
It's an extreme minority.
Yeah, it's an extremist point of view.
Yeah.
And they're gonna pick that out and be like, oh, black people want all white people dead. And it's just like, so you have extremists in your group.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Do you want all black people dead or something? And they'll be like, no, like, what do you, no, I'm fine with, do you though?
I mean, Anthony will say he's like one of these people who believes, I don't judge an entire race. I judge people like individuals on their actions. Mm-hmm. I'm just telling y'all, please look at this motherfucker's Twitter.
Yeah.
There's a black person on the side of the road who I think was changing a tire. And a car came by, swiped, and killed him.
Oh, God.
And,
I did hear about that, actually.
And Anthony just straight up, like, retweeted it with the black thumbs up and, like, laughing, smiling face emoji.
Jeez.
And people were like, dude, he was seriously just killed changing his tire. And we went on a thread of just, like, I don't give a fuck. And it was basically just, like, these people had, like...
Generalization, dude.
Yeah, like, you
that,
can't...
That sounds to me like you just want any and all dead.
I'll show it on the screen for people to see, but it was seriously... like jaw-dropping to be like, wow, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, it was shocking even to me at this point.
Yeah.
It's such a stark difference how we handled that and they're handling this. They are really losing their fucking minds. Look,
the stock market's up.
Who's we?
We would be the normal, I don't know, Republican maybe? I guess someone that leans more right than left, someone that wanted a Republican other than a Democrat in office. And then when the Democrat won under Obama, we were pissed, but we weren't pissed a year later.
It's 8 years later.
Yeah, y'all are still pissed. Like,
You're still pissed.
You're seriously saying you weren't pissed after a year's time?
It's 8 years later, and you're still on this shit.
You're fucking lying. And you're lying to Ron.
Total self-denial.
Yeah, I can't fucking believe this.
Thrown out. We said things. The news wasn't. The news was like, and President Obama today did. It wasn't this constant hammering to get him thrown out of office. And that's what they're doing. That's what the left, the progressives, whatever you want to call it. And I don't mean all of them.
I think both sides are doing the same shit. I mean, you forget Fox News for all those years, and the president was saying that Obama wasn't even from this fucking country.
Kind of
So
hilarious,
it's not like
though.
everybody. Yeah, no, I get.
It's a funny troll move.
But I get it. So don't I mean, there's no reason to act like one
Here's
is
the
more,
difference.
You know,
Was there a fucking 24 hours on 4 different networks about opening up an investigation to see if Obama was from the United States? No, it was looked at like, look at this goofball wants a fucking birth certificate. He's American. Get out of here.
No, they talked about it a shit ton.
Yeah, you're seriously acting like this wasn't given any airtime?
Like, what? It was like for years they talked about this shit.
And I like that he asks, who are we?
Yeah.
To say, like, we didn't, or they are. It's like, who's we and they? Because seriously is coming down to white people.
Us versus who? Who versus who? Because y'all are talking very us versus them.
Yeah. And then he has to come down to, oh, well, it's Democrats, but not all of them.
He's
like,
forcing critical thinking into the situation instead of just a group of, like, emotionally stunted yes men talking to each other, just like, yeah, I don't even have to think about what you just said, but I agree.
And if Owen wasn't sitting there going, yeah, it was a pretty funny move, though, pretty funny troll move, we might have actually had a constructive conversation. It's so fucking frustrating that Owen is there stilting every possible chance.
Well, that's the thing. There are just so many people like that, with that kind of mentality, who are also alt-right and shit, that are just like, we're not going to actually have a conversation about this. It's all troll. It's all trolling. Because
it's all for the lulz.
In the end, no matter what happens, I will be the least affected.
Yeah. No matter how good Ron is at this, Anthony is at the end of the day going to be surrounded by so many people like Owen that it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
And that's a shame because Ron is doing an incredible job. Like, he's trying his fucking hardest.
It's like going to school and meeting someone who has, like, a bunch of new ideas. And you're like, whoa, wow, I never thought about that. I'm gonna think about it. Can you tell me more about it? And then you go home and your entire family's like, oh, that stuff sucks. It's a lie. It's bullshit. It's dangerous. It's immoral.
And then you don't want to talk to that kid anymore.
Yeah, and then you're like,
everyone's told you how full of shit they are.
Yeah, you don't want to keep bringing back, or you keep talking to the kid and you're like, you just can't express that part of yourself to your family.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's hard too.
Yeah.
You don't think it's going to happen, right?
No, I don't think.
Why worry about it?
They're talking about him getting thrown out of office.
Right.
Ron asks, like, you don't think it's going to happen, though, right? Then why worry about it?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
If you're so convinced he's not going to get impeached,
why screaming about it?
Yeah.
Sit around and be furious about it.
The country, it hurts the country that so many citizens of this country are just, their whole time is being taken up with this. It hurts the government because all the people that want Trump impeached, their representatives have to appeal to their constituency. So the representatives start with we got to impeach Trump shit. Right. And then do you think you can now work with a president that you're trying to have impeached to satisfy your fucking moronic constituency? No, so nothing gets done.
But you act like that just didn't happen during the Clinton years, and everyone fucking laid it on.
It did, but
they fucked a chick in the office and then lied about it.
Right, but how do we know who got fucked by Trump? This is what we're doing over and over.
It was like cum on her and stuff, and she said it.
But we haven't seen the evidence yet on Trump.
The lack of evidence isn't evidence, though. That used to kill a lot of Jews back in the day.
Of evidence.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. But
lack of evidence isn't evidence itself. That's what got all the Jews killed? Not even gonna try to figure out that line of thought.
No, I don't think it's worth our time.
But I will say, when it comes to lack of evidence, the burden of proof is
on the accused.
Is on the accused, yeah. Like, they don't like how the legal system works.
No. And it's weird how they'll scream about how horrible Clinton was, and I'll say rightfully, call him a rapist. And they'll talk about the Monica Lewinsky thing, which, yes, 100% was fucked up. Listen back to how Anthony talked about that shit back in the day.
Yeah.
It was mainly, he was, like, I guess it's kind of in line of what he's talking about here. Not what Owen's talking about, but what Anthony was talking about.
Whatever the fuck Owen's talking about.
No clue. He's being super defensive because Ron tried to ask a question, and now he's trying to shut Ron up because he realizes, oh, fuck.
Ron is trying to make critical thinking happen.
Oh no, I didn't think this was a
He
possibility.
wants it to be a serious conversation. He wants me to give a shit.
I was just gonna joke about Jews the whole time. I wasn't prepared for this. Yeah, he was upset that things weren't getting done because so much time was being taken up by the impeachment shit, which that's valid criticism, but to act like Clinton was so fucking horrible and ignore the 19+ rape allegations Trump was facing,
Yeah.
that's bullshit.
Yeah,
You can't act like that's not okay.
Yeah, especially when you can really compare apples to apples.
Yeah, and when Trump was seriously straight up acknowledging and admitting to certain things, like...
That means that not only are you guilty, but you're a shady Jew.
But we haven't seen what Mueller's brought back. I have no idea.
Nothing.
I'm saying you guys are so fucking locked in. Just fucking chill.
It must be so nice.
Yeah, it's Sisyphus,
To
man.
be
You gotta keep
Bennington.
pushing the fucking boulder, man.
Being Bennington, that's the goal in life.
Yeah.
Well, why not? You have some power over your life, right?
No, not really.
Not really.
Not really!
Unpack that. You feel like you don't have power over your life? Whose fault is that?
Yeah, that's not the government.
You have nearly every privilege other than being the richest person in the world.
They just wanted to shut Ron up so bad that they didn't even try to engage that line of thinking at all.
And you could tell that Ron keyed on that because he was just like, chill out.
Just chill out.
The last thing that anybody who's heated wants to hear is calm down or chill out.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Ugh.
My indignance is justified.
Yeah.
My righteous
I'm not going to validate
anger.
your racism
No!
or your sexism or whatever ism you're doing right now. No.
It's fucking... All right, just chill out.
Just chill out.
None, you don't feel like you're running your world?
I mean, in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Like, this
for
guy
all
can-
the here's my biggest point that has happened over the past couple of years. I was constantly being told by people, dude, the government's not going to come and take your guns away.
Right, and then they did.
Government came and took my guns away.
Right.
It's because you were accused of domestic abuse.
Do you want no checks to... Do you want literally everybody to be able to have guns, Anthony?
That part is so fucking infuriating to me. That's his excuse of, I don't have control over my life.
And the proof that the government is coming to take all of our guns away.
All of our guns. Mine is the example of everyone's.
Do you think that these kind of people think that mass shooters should still be have a right to have guns?
Yeah,
Do you think that they think babies should have guns?
probably. I don't think they think there should be an age limit.
Do you think that they think that dogs should have guns?
No.
No? So it's just a human right.
Yeah. Animals don't have any rights.
Do you think that they want to teach newborn babies how to shoot guns?
If they thought they could, yeah. I mean, they want teachers to be able to
No, that's
protect
not baby,
children in
though.
school. I'm saying if they thought kids could, they would 100% would say kids should be able to go to school with guns to protect themselves.
Do you think that they would trust robots with guns?
No.
It's only humans.
I don't think they believe in like artificial intelligence. I think they think that like there's way too many opportunities of things to go wrong. And to a degree, I agree in the sense of like we hear about them talking about the possibility of introducing police robots.
Oh yeah, no.
It's like there's
This
no
is just
reasoning
a
with
fun thought rabbit hole to
right,
go down.
Yeah.
In my perfect world, literally nobody would have guns.
You wouldn't
guns
have a
would
need
not
for it.
exist.
Yeah, exactly.
But we already took the cap off the toothpaste, and now we
It's-
have to deal with the repercussions
it's too
the
late
best we
now.
can. Oh, do you think that they think the government should have guns?
Yeah.
Do you think that they think that Hollywood, the FBI, and whatever other dog whistle places should have
The
guns?
banks?
Banks?
Yeah.
Do you think that they think bankers should have guns?
I don't think they think there should be a limit on anyone. Because I think they come down to
Dead people.
Well, they don't think dead people should vote, so I'm gonna say no.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that one.
That's what happened.
Same with gay marriage. It's like, dude,
That's what they did.
not a slippery slope.
Right.
There's never going to touch the kids. Now I'm seeing All of LA turn on me when I say you can't fucking sterilize a child with hormone blockers.
That's not.
Wow, you don't even know anything about what you're talking about.
No, you were the slippery slope argument
That was like 7 different arguments lumped into one.
was that if people of the same sex get married, then you would marry a child. That's not even what you're concerned about.
I always heard, then they're gonna want to marry a dog.
Yeah, like I'm thinking his mindset is always about the kids. It's where it always boils down to kids. But you're not worried about the states that literally still allow you to marry children or force children to go through with pregnancies and
force
states
children
that
to go through with
abort.
pregnancy, force babies to have surgeries that sometimes the parent hasn't even consented to.
They don't give a fuck about that.
The women and children who are sterilized that aren't white people, that are black and brown and indigenous people who are sterilized against their wills.
Yeah.
Like literally sterilized, not given hormone blockers, which do not sterilize you.
They don't care. They don't care to learn the difference.
Yeah, and I think they know that.
Yeah.
I think they know that their willful ignorance is what infuriates people, because it's at the end of the day, even if they did know all of the information, which some of these people who feign ignorance do know, they just want to infuriate people. Yeah. Because it does not affect them at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yet.
Anything to hinder any sort of process. Anything that's going to take up time and distract from things actually getting done.
I know this. I am not willing to engage in a, good faith argument. So I will disrupt it in any way that I can. I'm not going to let you get close to me with logic.
Right.
So I'm just going to pretend I know nothing about it. And honestly, I'm just going to make myself know nothing about it. Because I've already come to my conclusion. 2 + 7 is 1. And that's the end of the story. You can argue with me all day, and I'll keep telling you you're wrong.
I'm over here super mad, making a loud ruckus. It's your job to calm me down, to shut me up.
I'm a little baby babu with childhood trauma, and I don't know how to regulate my own emotions, so I'm going to spew it out onto everyone around me that I disagree with.
Because if I stay angry, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to kill people. You don't want me to kill people, do you?
Yeah.
You gotta talk me down from that ledge because I'm unhinged. You don't know what I'm gonna do.
I'm
just wacky and silly like that.
I'm just wacky silly like that. You never know.
So yeah, there's a type of dude that just gets in warrior mode when there's threats. And like having a kid for me fucked me up because it's like, I don't know if I'm a good person or what I deserve, but like.
You're not.
So I'm going to unpack that a little bit.
Okay.
You say that he keeps bringing it back to protecting the kids.
Yes.
Projecting something onto these parents of trans kids, saying that these parents are pedophiles.
Yeah.
Within the mental illness community, there are some people who experience mental illnesses linked to intrusive thoughts. And some of those intrusive thoughts, well, let me preface this by saying, intrusive thoughts are things you don't want to do.
Right.
Things that you so badly do not want to do and don't want there to be in the world, that your brain is considering that idea a threat. And people who might have OCD or other cognitive issues will see those things as threats to the point where they are looking for it all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can come out as intrusive thinking about pedophilia and pedophilic acts. Same with murder, self-harm, suicide, things that people so badly do not want to do that their brain is wired to always look for the things, and they can pop up as intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if he experiences that, and he so badly wants to compensate for these intrusive thoughts, because he just said, having kids fucked me up.
I don't know
if I'm a good person.
Yeah.
And I'll admit, I've had intrusive thoughts that span all of this shit. And before I realized that it was just indicative of how much I don't want to do these things, I was like, oh my God, does that mean I want to do these things? What does that mean about me? And being someone with CPTSD, I struggle with thinking I'm a good person or not. So I can relate in that little way with him. But I'm wondering if he's overcompensating and projecting that onto the world. And in this case, trans parents.
When I got an innocent kid, it's like there's no one I've hated enough to kill, but I love my family enough to kill somebody. You know, so
But you want your individual rights to raise your kids, right?
of course I do. Yeah.
Yeah, so
So if you are sterilizing kids, I mean, I think that that's a very low benchmark. You can put a dress on them. I think that's fucked up, but like, you know.
You can do it. Well, not actually, though.
Yeah, I'm still gonna like hate you and judge you and on a podcast say that it's fucked up.
Yeah, I'll be slightly less mad about it, but I'll still be mad about it.
Yeah. And I'm probably gonna consider it a slippery slope.
Like, what I'm saying isn't crazy. It's just the reinforcement of this nonsense. I just don't have that gene that just listens to
But I mean,
lemmings.
how many of these kids are getting hormone blockers? Is it just the one? Or
Oh,
is it
Vice has done shit on it. I can name 3 in Hollywood.
And I'm sure
And
every year it goes up.
It's going to only go up. And it's like, and it's
that
fucked up.
acceptance.
And it's the acceptance. It's almost like if you know a guy, it doesn't matter if he's never raped a chick. If he's like, dude should be able to rape chicks. You're like, fuck you, dude. You know what I'm saying? It's like the compliance of evil to me is almost worse because you want to do it, but you don't even have the balls to do it. You know what I mean?
People like this love to create victims
Yes, 100%.
while totally ignoring actual victims.
Yeah.
And then comparing it as if rape victims or rapists are in the same realm as trans children and trans parents.
He's mad. He's mad at people who are willing to stand by and not fight against it, and thinks they're as bad as people who are actually doing this.
Yeah, silence is compliance kind of mentality.
But I don't hear him complaining about actual rape of people
Nope.
No, he's not.
He doesn't actually give a shit unless it's a
No.
straw man argument.
Yeah, no, he'll use that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't give a fuck.
It's
You'll
the
sit
ultimate
there and
evil.
smile while someone else does it.
Right, it's the lowercase I. It's the iPhone generation. It's narcissism without any power. You fucking small
I
narcissist.
like him.
Wow, how poignant of you to say.
It's the iPhone generation.
I imagine no one said that before.
Yeah,
I
no.
bet I could Google it and see if someone said that.
He's such a Facebook comedian, if that makes sense.
He's chronically online, is that what you mean?
No, I
He's
mean,
chronically on Facebook.
he's a fucking boomer comedian.
Dude, no,
like, he's
no.
2 seconds away from posting fucking Minion memes.
Chronically on Facebook. That's a whole other.
Yeah. We only got this one last clip of Ron and Benjamin. There was more episode, but I didn't watch it, and I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh no, Trudeau, he drinks soy, he's great, you know? But like, they're now making it illegal. They made it illegal to not do the fucking pronoun horse shit. And you can go, you now get put in a cage.
This has been a conspiracy theory for a while, because Canada introduced a thing saying that if you misgender people, it can be considered a human rights violation. No one has been arrested for this.
Of course
No
not.
one has been put in a cage for this.
Well, of course not. I consider it similar to the fact that it's illegal to spit gum on the sidewalk.
Right, yeah.
It's just a way to discourage people from doing that thing.
It basically said that if someone is maliciously misgendering somebody at a workplace,
Yeah.
it could be a fireable offense. Like,
makes sense.
you can still face consequences, not legal consequences.
Yeah.
But this is what Owen bases his entire argument on. And it's a lie.
And then a cage.
And he has, in a cage specifically, like, you're buried under the fucking jail for misgendering somebody because they're like
put in solitary.
they're so fucking protected right now by the government.
Yeah, like, I'm surprised I haven't heard arguments conflating the trans community with the Jewish community yet. Because
I know it's been made. It has to have been.
it has to have been made,
Yeah.
because I'm seeing them sort of mentioned in similar ways.
There are ways that sometimes people who are anti-Semitic are also against the trans movement. and
Oh,
you
I totally believe that to be a thing.
Oh, yeah, and scratch a turf and a racist bleeds. Like,
Yeah.
it's always the same thing of, like, they are connected. Not because they aren't saying the same things at the same time doesn't
Yeah.
mean they don't have the same belief.
I feel like you can tell how well a marginalized community has progressed by how willing they are to call out bigotry within that marginalized community.
Yeah.
Like the gay community. You go to a gay club and you meet a bunch of people that you've never talked to before, like outside of your circle and stuff, and you'll be able to find the sexism very very easily,
Yeah.
the racism, the transphobia, ableism, just like all this stuff. And you could go to a trans only space. You can find ableism, racism, sexism still. Like you can still
server.
Yeah, you can a Discord server. Yeah, you can still find all of the, because within intersectionality, of course, there are still going to be people who have yet to check their privilege within their intersection.
Yeah.
The more bigoted a group as a whole is, in my opinion, the more privileged that group is.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And so...
But you can be that vocal.
Yeah, you can be that vocal or be so unaffected by your own bigotry that you can be bigoted against all of these fucking marginalized groups because you're not a part of any of them.
Yeah.
And I just... Like... It's just such an interesting... It's why intersectionality is so interesting to me. Because you've got people who are on their own fucking highway and every single fucking exit comes off on bigotry. Then you've got people who are on, like, you know, fucking, they're in a city and they've got their own fucking highways that are problematic as shit, but it's not this. It's not this terrible web woven out of bigotry where this is their identity.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, oh shit, yeah. This community's got a lot of racism in it. Fuck, we gotta fucking figure that out and hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
And see what happens to the people that we hold accountable.
Yeah, if they just join the other side, which sometimes they feel...
You see that.
They feel alienated because they thought, oh, this community is going to accept me regardless.
Regardless of any bigotry.
So when they do, you see people like Caitlyn Jenner who will just flip immediately. And will just join I'm just going to join what do they say? The panther that's eating faces. You know, like, oh, they'll never eat my face.
Yeah.
Like, they totally accept me and they don't.
I'm not just a pawn being used.
Yeah, you're not a fucking token trans person that they're just going to use for their benefit. But you see, like, well, now they accept me because I've been outed as a racist and they like racists, so now they're going to accept my racism.
They accept you because they can profit off of you.
Yeah.
They still don't think you should exist.
No. They will throw you in front.
Yeah.
They'll throw you in the fire the second they need to.
And now, like, lawyers have to pass these, like, tests for ideological contagion. You know, my parents are professors, and it's like, Brown is 46-1 liberal to conservative, and country's half. Like, Trump just got elected.
Yeah. So
but yeah, you have Hollywood, media, all this shit just being dominated.
Jews.
What's that?
Jews.
Jews. I'm a quarter Jewish, so it's like I always do the joke that I would have been a bittersweet kill because I look like a propaganda poster. Because I'm like 6'7" and blue-eyed, so they'd be like, "Do we have to kill this one for us?"
You think you look Aryan?
Yeah. We already know your comedy is fucking dog shit, but that's like factually inaccurate.
Yeah.
And I gotta credit Ron with the extremely small pity. Just give you something, bro, because you're looking at me awful desperate.
That's what I kept noticing. Just
right. So we're on to the next day, and Ron is still there. No Owen, though, so don't got to worry about his ass. But we do bring in a guest in a little bit. So to start things out, Ron and Anthony, I think here they reflect a little bit on the day before show and how it went.
I know in here yesterday we took, we were after every minority.
We had Owen in, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, boy, I haven't sant in a while. He's really in deep with some of these fucking people. But we went to an anti-gay place, which hasn't happened in this city in many, many decades.
I love the gays. You know how it is.
You should have spoke up.
No, I don't speak. I let my guests go, get their opinions out.
Yeah.
What am I going to sit here and fucking, hey, you? I love that he was using the word sodomite.
So, in this episode, we learn a few things. One very crucial thing, Anthony is not a good host.
Oh, I thought you were going to say person.
We knew that. He addresses a few things that Opie is much more capable of handling. And one of them is, obviously, like he just said, someone's going on a rant about these things that I don't necessarily agree with. I'm I'm just gonna go ahead and let them go ahead and say whatever they want and not give them any pushback at all.
Yeah, which is
Why not?
Which is it? Do you love gay people, or do you not care enough to defend them?
Is it that you love gay people, or you hate confrontation so much that you're not willing to stick up for a group of people when somebody starts shit talking them like Owen was?
If you start shit talking like Trump, if you start shit talking Republicans and conservatives and
he might give you a little bit of pushback there.
I imagine he'd have something to say about that.
Yeah, you push those right buttons we know about.
Yep.
I don't think I left it in. But Ron actually at one point says he spoke to Fez and was worried, and Fez was worried about Anthony. So, yeah, man, you're losing your buds.
That is what I'm saying. If
Fez is a gay man, by the way, of Ron and Fez. For people who don't know,
I have no problem with the gays. I love the gay people. They're just stunning.
Trans in particular, right?
People.
Trans
people.
Yeah.
For me, I don't care. I don't care what you do with yourself.
Yeah, you do what you do.
Why would I give a shit? Who am I? Who am I to say what people should or shouldn't be doing?
Here's our fight today, because we're an alt-right show here, right? I'm filling in. I know I'm filling in, but we're alt-right. Am I correct?
Are we alt-right here?
Am I wrong when I say that? I don't know.
I don't know.
We're an alt-right show.
We all have our opinions that do come into the show at some point.
But I mean, we want guns, and we want to keep the minorities away from us. We want to keep our children pure. It's the AA Compound Media Show.
I mean, that's what you've the conclusion you've drawn.
We're pro-cop, anti-FBI. We're just
right.
Yeah, he was listening.
Yeah.
Do you? Is that not what you want? You don't want people to listen to what you actually say? Because it sounds like you're not sure.
Ron took notes, man.
Ron was quiet and just absorbing the information. Ron was like a parent watching two kids bicker and just like, I'm not gonna step in. They'll figure this out. I'm just gonna witness. Wow, Spider-Man stinky. This person thinks that Elsa's stinky.
I was gonna say Spider-Man and Elsa.
Elsa's stinky. Well, let's see if they come to an agreement.
How did I know?
And then at the end, they're just like, so they agree. Both can be stinky sometimes. Okay.
Oh.
Well done.
Okay. Fair enough.
use alt-wrongs, we's alt-rights. I want us to get on that and stay on it.
Stay on the alts wrongs and alts rights.
Yeah.
I want to call it alt correct.
Right.
We're alt correct.
Well, yesterday, it seemed like it was us against everybody.
Well, Owen Benjamin is a very passionate, very heated guy. He likes
he fired us up too. We were ready to ride. We were ready to midnight ride last night.
He did fire us up a little bit. He has a problem with transgendered children. That's his cause. That's his whole life now.
Has he done anything about it, or he just talks about it?
Has
he went and saved one of these?
I don't know if he's kidnapping children that are...
Yeah, what would saving a trans child look like?
Yeah, getting a child taken away from their parents? Like the government, the big bad government? You hate government overreach so much?
Like what would saving this situation look like? What if you, quote unquote, saved a trans child, right?
Yeah.
And probably means kidnapping them.
Yeah.
And then the kid's just like, no, like, that is what I want to do. Like, that's me. This is who I am. And they're just like, no.
Is calling the parents pedophiles helping?
Yeah.
Like, because at the end of the day, it seems like what you want is the parents to be imprisoned because you think they're evil, you think they're doing crime. So you either want them imprisoned or worse.
Yeah.
You want the children to not have this support system.
Yeah.
And you seem to think that without the support system, they won't be trans anymore. Because you are of the belief that they're not coming up to this conclusion on their own.
Yeah.
That they're being pushed by these parents who want this for their children so badly, and I have no idea where anyone ever got this notion from.
It's like saying that it is different, but it reminds me of how when an accuser says that this guy like sexually assaulted me, and then it's just like, oh, you're just saying it for clout,
right?
You just want the guy's money. You just want like all the celebrity status that comes with being a rape survivor. It's like, excuse me? you think that being a survivor of sexual assault is good?
They saw a couple trans people make it to a celebrity level, like a Laverne Cox or someone to that degree, and now all of a sudden they see, oh, Hollywood is now celebrating and they're prioritizing trans people. They're awarding these people for being trans and nothing else. So they're soon, because it's all about paranoia and slippery slopes, that they're soon gonna not care about cis straight people anymore. They're only gonna
deprioritizing. That people always think that prioritizing, giving marginalized groups more of a platform to speak on, means that it's deprioritizing everybody else.
That when we talk about diversity, that diversity doesn't include them.
Yeah.
Why would it not?
Yeah, why would it not?
We talk about diversity of voices, your voice is still there, but they think, no, we're going to be silenced.
Are taking hormones.
I had never heard this story, so
Well,
I was
there are
baffled by it.
very young children, some as young as the age of 4, that have decided, in between shitting their own pants,
Right.
they have made a conscious decision in between one day wanting to be a fireman and the next day wanting to be a cat.
Yeah.
They have decided that they want to be a different gender.
Yeah.
So a lot of these little boys say, hey, I want to be a girl. And the parents, because it's 2018 now, just love this. Because now they could go to the PTA and the parents around the neighborhood and go, oh, by the way, my child is gender fluid. Transgender, where and the other parents look at their kids and go, you piece of shit. What? I guess you like girls?
That is sort of fucking funny to think of a parent comparing their cis kid, be like, fucking basic ass kid.
Why can't you be trans like the Johnsons
Why can't you be
kid?
trans?
Ah, you're such a disappointment.
It's such
you cis het.
Such a fucking funny opposite truth.
And that's got to come from somewhere, right? Like, that has to come from Anthony's upbringing. Because how else would he have observed this? His parents had to have acted like that to him.
Yeah, what did he
disappointment?
have to oppress in himself? It's because white supremacy, even the most privileged white people are oppressing themselves on a daily basis because of white supremacy.
Right.
What did he have to oppress in himself for his parents' approval?
The only thing I know specifically is, like, showing emotion. Like, he says,
And that's huge.
He says, I was such a crybaby, and my dad would yell at me, and it forced me to suppress that. To now, it's a whole big joke about how I just can't.
Yeah.
I just can't cry.
It's so funny.
It's so funny. It makes me so special that I can't.
Sometimes you just gotta laugh so you don't cry. That's literally all I do now.
Yep, and I'm not going to unpack that at all. That's 100% healthy behavior for me.
Mm-hmm.
But why would we care?
Trans kid around.
Why do we care?
Well,
I mean, I don't care if a kid learns math. When people bring up core or whatever, I'm like, fuck those kids.
you don't care about the Common Core.
No, I
That was
couldn't
a big
do,
issue a
I
while
couldn't
ago.
do math then.
I
I
can't
don't want to do
math.
it now. I don't want to help a kid do math.
Get this.
Do what I did, skip school.
Here's my math machine.
What is
It's
that?
my magical math machine. I hit a button, and I could do all kinds of math I never would have dreamt about doing on my own.
What's really funny, and I wanted to include that bit specifically, is because recently I've heard a clip of Gavin talk about how, everyone is just so desensitized by cell phones and calculators that soon, eventually, you're gonna find yourself picking up your phone and going, what's 10 times 10? And you're like, whoa, I knew that, but I relied on my phone so much that I just inherently picked it up because I didn't want to think. And here Anthony is like, fuck math, I love my phone. So just chalk that up as another thing that Gavin said in front of Anthony, that Anthony had to act like it was very funny and not act like, oh shit, he's talking about me.
By the way, did you dress up when you were a kid? I dressed up like a cowboy, right? But not like the cowboy that you would see in the Old West. I saw pictures. I dressed like a cowboy you'd see in a gay bar. There was like
the Village People type cowboy.
I don't know where I got this outfit. And I was walking around like I was a prancy little cowboy.
Yeah.
You grow out of it. No one screamed at me. He's not really a cowboy.
Right.
Take those clues. Who cares?
But they weren't like permanently.
I don't understand this argument that people are giving 4-year-olds puberty blockers. Because puberty blockers aren't necessary until puberty is imminent.
Right, yeah.
Puberty typically starts between the ages of 8 and 13. Puberty blockers are only given to children who have started puberty.
Yeah, so no.
Yeah, so
That's
no, it's
not
not a
true, then.
4-year-old. No one's saying that puberty blockers are permanent.
No.
So
It takes a very simple baseline understanding of any of it to even think that that would be a possibility.
Yeah.
You took no time to actually look into it.
like, you realize that people who begin hormones can't stop the hormones.
Right, yeah.
They have to keep giving the hormones to their body,
Yeah.
whether or not the hormones are reflective of their assigned gender or not, because there are boys who need to take testosterone for their entire life.
Yeah.
It's just a thing that happens. Sometimes we're born with hormones that don't reflect who we are or who we would like to be.
Yeah.
Like physically when it comes to the secondary sex characteristics.
Right.
So like people just have to take them, because if you stop, things begin to change in favor of the hormones that your body is more frequently pushing out.
Right.
So you don't understand any of it then.
And Ron's understanding of this whole thing, it is a little dated. Like talking about, I grew out of it. Like, I don't think he thinks that trans children will necessarily grow out of it and that this is a phase for them.
I think he's trying to make it more accessible for Anthony.
Yeah, like...
it's basically saying it's harmless.
It's harmless, yeah. Why do you care at the end of the day?
It didn't affect me dressing up as like a... What was it? A gay cowboy? A cowboy from a gay club? That didn't hurt anybody.
A princey little cowboy.
And look at me, I'm talking about it now and I'm enjoying the memory of it. It's just,
it's so funny.
It's, whatever.
No one fucking abused me of it, but that would be absolutely something if Anthony did, he would have got the shit kicked out of him by his dad for.
Yeah.
Because anything remotely effeminate got him beat up.
Yeah, what more perceived as effeminate, yeah.
Yeah.
Injecting you with something that might...
Don't you think that when a doctor does that, you can't get that done? There's oaths to be taken.
Right, I
think these are hermaphrodite kids.
You think?
That you would have to, before you could give them...
You got to kind of flip a coin at that point and go, you got to go one way or the other, kid.
And you're outside. I hope boy, but I don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I don't know what my teenager's going to be.
I personally don't care what anyone does, especially with their own kids. I could give a shit. There are plenty of fucked up kids that are raised what would have been considered 1950s tradition.
Amen.
There you go, Anthony.
I needed to stop this because this clip goes off the rails. I couldn't play this at all, all the way through, without first of all addressing what Ron's concern was. Because I feel like we need to address that. That Ron doesn't have much of an understanding about this topic because it's something he does not care about. Mm-hmm. It doesn't affect him. It
doesn't affect him, and that's a less dangerous viewpoint to have than.
So Ron's assumption of this is like what you were talking about earlier. Is that I think what you're talking about are intersex kids.
Yeah.
And he says, so you don't know which way they're going to go, so you give them the hormones to try to flip. And Anthony's like, oh, so like flipping a coin. That's what Ron thinks the story is about. It's not that.
Yeah, I don't know the specific story that's being referred to.
He's not outraged enough about this to really know the specifics. So they are talking about two different things here.
Yeah, but there are so many instances where puberty blockers are more than reasonable.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I just don't think Ron doesn't think about... He's not thinking about trans kids. He's thinking about intersex kids.
Yeah. Which are not the same, but they can overlap. He
might not be aware of trans kids by this point in 2018. It might not be in his purview. But this right here about what Anthony is about to say is so fucking weird, and I love that Ron does not let him get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Amen to that.
Amen.
But I think certain things encroach on our society. And what it does is it undermines our traditional values, I think.
Hold on, are we in the Old South? What are you talking about? Who gives a shit? You don't even have a Christmas tree, you prick. What do you care?
Love my Christmas tree. I have a big, giant Christmas tree in my house. I think it undermines traditional values that made this country America. This country is America and what it is because there are certain things in place that just really need to remain in place to keep it.
You don't believe that for
America.
a second. You don't believe that for
I
a second.
actually do, Ronnie.
Really?
You don't think that? You think America could be anything and still be America?
Look, we used to have a fucking phone attached to the wall in the kitchen.
I loved
we
it.
move on. That's progress. We're progressing into the future.
But you can't see every change as progress. Some change.
What do you want?
Not
Church?
progress.
Do you go to church every week?
No.
That would seem to be the cornerstone.
You think
of this
that's the
thing.
cornerstone?
What is the cornerstone?
I don't think church is the cornerstone, but I think a lot of what has been popular religions in this country over the course of the years instill in people, right and wrong, good and bad, things like that are traditional American values, kind of and I think if you start undermining that,
it would mean a lot more if you went to church every week, and if you had a nice wife and the children, then you could get away with this act.
I can't say do as I say, not as I do.
No.
My dad used to use that one on me all the time.
Well, that's the tradition. By the way, you're in the tradition of that dude. There's no doubt about it. You're a long night of that.
My dad was great with that shit. Do as I say, not as I do.
Oh.
Yep.
A lot of exposing in that clip.
Yeah, that sort of exposes possibly how other people view, because he's so childlike in a lot of ways that he's sort of saying the thing that the other people don't want you to be saying, which is this one person's life and expression and choices undermines all of American tradition.
Yeah. Like what?
How?
What tradition then?
What traditions? The traditions to oppress people?
Yeah.
To force people to fit into societal norms that you've arbitrarily chosen?
Mm-hmm.
To follow your God and your biblical teachings?
This also exposes the fact that I don't believe Ant and Ron have really kept in close touch, and that Anthony doesn't really keep his friends particularly close anyway, and also that he changed considerably from the time he worked at XM. He says, I believe in these core American values, and Ron just immediately strikes back, you don't believe that.
Yeah.
And Anthony's like, I do, and he's like, really? Like, he sees this is not the person I worked with. Because you would have noticed this.
Yeah.
Or he just didn't talk like this on air, and he had these own personal beliefs that you didn't know about because you two weren't close enough to hear them outside of work.
Yeah, I personally think that Anthony is just parroting some simulacrum of what some other people are saying, that he wants to respect him.
Yeah, that is where I'm coming back from, where Owen was saying things that didn't really seem to have any basis on anything. They all seem like things that, like, all the things he was talking about Jewish people all felt like things that were repeated from other people he respected.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have anything to back it up besides what seemed like rehearsed answers.
Mm-hmm.
And Anthony 100% seems like he's just absorbing these things that, he doesn't go to church, he's not a married man. Like, so many of these things are not what people would consider core American values.
Yeah.
He's not a traditionalist.
He's interviewed porn stars.
You'd be against all of that.
He definitely watches porn.
Yes.
Even though he claims he doesn't in some weird way
You wouldn't
sometimes.
be playing violent video games. You wouldn't be doing all these things. Like all these traditionalist things.
Yeah.
You don't do any of it.
Yeah, it reminds me of when a kid... Okay, like a kid's just being a kid, just like... Oh, I love this. This is cool. I like Spider-Man. Oh, making your toys click together and stuff and fight.
Yeah.
And then, like, all of a sudden, it'll go from, like, Spider-Man, shoot his web. Well, I really don't think you should be doing that, Bob. Spider-Man. Just suddenly sounds like their parents.
Yeah.
And
that is always so creepy.
You hear a kid parroting their parents.
Oh.
So surreal.
Oh.
And I feel like that's sort of what he's doing.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I was about to say he might be parodying his dad, but holy shit.
Yeah, I
his
don't know.
experiences in California, wild party life, not traditionalist in any way.
But maybe
so
his dad
not.
says these things.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, he was just saying, don't do as I say, don't not as I do.
That could very well be. But, I mean, he didn't give a fuck about Anthony smoking and doing drugs and drinking and all this shit. Driving without a license before he was of age and all that shit.
It was a lost cause. He doesn't give a shit now.
God, no. No, it would have been easier on him if he just would have died. One less person to worry about, probably.
Yep.
I recall America in the days of yore, where we were proud of our nation.
No, when you were growing up, right?
Yeah.
We had riots, race riots. We had Vietnam riots.
East Northport.
We were yes, there was. You were just too little.
East Northport, Long Island. It was nice. The birds were chirping.
You were too young to know it. That's what's crazy about people. We were shooting fucking presidents back then. Shooting religious leaders.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I watched the documentaries.
So this thing never existed.
Yeah, well, that was the beginning of what turned this into this odd PC kind of
he's just referring to civil rights.
Yeah.
Civil rights is what led to this. So you don't like rights. You liked America when there were no actual rights?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
I do have written down here, we got more in this clip, but I don't remember when this came up. The two continue talking about whether or not America was ever great. And of course, Anthony brings it back around to World War II and the post-war boom that benefited the suburbs and no one else. Ron suggests we were closer to socialism in the time when everyone was making similar money, living in similar houses, wearing similar clothes, and argues that capitalism hasn't enriched lives in the same way. Anthony doesn't have much of a pushback on this, honestly, because I don't think he has any strong feelings outside what he's seen in documentaries or heard from right-wing speakers.
Yeah.
He says right there, I saw it in documentaries.
Yeah.
That's all he has to go on. That's all his opinions are based on, what these historians with agendas are saying.
making American traditionalism evil.
Right.
You know, that was the beginning of it. It's with the riots and assassinations and all that horse shit, Ronnie, that I like to call horse shit.
Who was being assassinated? Left-wing leaders.
Yeah, like
JFK, MLK. Right-wing racists weren't being assassinated.
I think it's funny how it's like all these people love history, and if you love history, that means you love seeking out primary resources, primary sources even, but never listen to the people who are actually affected by the things.
No. It's easier to watch documentaries from historians than listen to people who are actually there and live the experiences. Because that's not fun. That doesn't parrot what you want to hear.
Yeah, that's too emotional.
I don't know why people want to get so famous now or internet famous or you know.
Boy, isn't that something? The second people got the ability to transmit themselves to a mass of people, they all just did it.
They did it immediately.
Just about everyone decided, I need to put my kids and my pets and my food and everything up on this platform that everyone could see.
So many pictures and videos of your cat Beavis. I've seen so much of that fucking cat.
Yeah, like
it's adorable,
you literally quit your job to be on radio to broadcast yourself to more people.
And then you lost your job, and what did you do? You just did it again, but at your house.
You love broadcasting yourself. It's sort of a human condition to want to connect with people, and this is a great way to do it.
This is the point of the episode where everything takes a turn. Anthony is about to introduce his guest, and he gives us a little bit of a warning up front.
I don't know. Our guest, boy, if you think Owen was a hit.
We're going to be alt-right, are we?
We're not going to be very alt-right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why did you say if you think Owen was a hit if you didn't think it was going to be alt-right?
Yeah.
We're introduced to Colin Flaherty. I think that's how you say his name.
Okay.
He's an author. He's written some books called Don't Make the Black Kids Mad.
Okay.
He wrote a book about the knockout game. Basically, he specializes in panic around black people and how we should be scared and worried about them and all these things. So yeah, it is going to be very bad.
Amazon will publish anything, won't they?
Yeah, here we get into it, and yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and say this. Ron doesn't stay as quiet during this episode as he did with Owen.
I definitely want to talk about something we were getting into before, which is this seems to be an undermining of the traditional values of this great country. And we talked about some of these things that Owen Benjamin was talking about yesterday, the children trying to, just shoehorn in this weird social justice agenda into our society now. You see it in commercials and movies and TV shows. And there's a boy here, young child of 10. And apparently he's wants to open up his own drag club just for children.
I wanted to preface. Yeah, he is a newsie. He's a stereotypical Irish immigrant with his floppy hat. I wanted to stop this and preface it by saying that I think it's kind of shitty how Ron was trying to walk Anthony back this whole time, and in this introduction for the topic, Anthony just completely undoes everything and is basically just like, yeah, well, shut up, Ron. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about regardless.
Now, this is the kind of stuff that I was getting at when I'm saying there seems to be a little bit of an issue here. They go, if you want your kid to be a girl, if he's a boy or a boy, it's your kid. Apparently, you do whatever the fuck you want with him. But this now takes to another level. Even Ronnie's got to agree with this.
I would just say you found one kid who's opening up a store for drag.
A drag club, like he wants to. Now, do you think this is okay? Do you think that's okay for you to take your son and gussy him up like this? And put him out. First of all, it's sexualizing a child.
I tweeted about this. If you look at a kid in drag and think that they're being sexualized, I'm inclined to assume that you are a pedophile.
Yeah, you are sexualizing that child.
You are sexualizing what they are doing, not them.
Yeah.
This isn't parents gussying up a kid. These are choices that the child made. And I like how now it went from, I don't give a fuck what you do with your kids, to now it's, apparently you can just do whatever the fuck you want. Which way are you going to have this, Ant? Is it a problem, or is it something you're okay with?
He doesn't have a firm stance on anything.
No, but I like how, first of all, they show the picture and the fucking people in the booth are laughing because they're a bunch of shitheads. But how he says, I know Ronnie's even got to agree with me on this one, and he immediately doesn't.
Yeah.
And he immediately goes,
you found one kid.
Yeah, you found one kid who's doing this trick. And I had to look him up, and he's still out there. He's still doing fine. 15 now, flourishing. He's an activist. He's doing well.
Oh yeah.
So I'm proud to see that he didn't succumb to pressures or anything, and that he's actually still around.
Yeah.
That's very good to see.
This is the little drag kid.
Now I'm seeing more and more stories like this, though.
There's not a lot. That
there are.
You find these things to make yourself crazy.
No, that's not true.
No.
Hold on. If you go to schools are teaching people about transgender people. Teachers are going to seminars about transgender stuff. It's very normalized.
They're normalizing it to the point where it's not so much, hey, here's a lifestyle someone's choosing. It's presenting it to very impressionable young children who might think that day or week or month that that's what they want to do. And it will last and stay with them now in pictures and things like that.
Let me just say this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You went to school. They tried to teach you algebra.
Rumor has
Did any of it stay with you?
I was just about to make this point.
Were you?
I was just about to make this point of, okay, what other people did you learn about in school?
Yeah.
Okay, Rosa Parks. Did you want to be Rosa Parks?
Yeah, did any of the talk about any kind of civil rights things, did any of that stick with you?
Okay, maybe let's do something a little bit more aligned with your ideology. Did you want to be Hitler?
Right.
Did you see Hitler and go, I'd like to dress like Hitler, I would like to be like Hitler, I would like to do things Hitler did?
And I like how this comes off the heels of just talking about how I use my phone for everything. I no math
I love
stuff.
the algebra one. I hadn't even thought about so now you're a mathematician?
Yeah, Anthony immediately is like, oh, well. Colin is annoying as hell.
I hate the way he sounds, for one.
Yeah, he sounds terrible.
He says stupid things.
He says really stupid things in a fucking Trump way of saying things. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
He goes, they teach things in the school, they're normalized, very normalized.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay, you fucking parrot. I don't believe this is anything.
Yeah.
You're again, just like Anthony, you're soaking up every fucking thing. And what schools I don't believe you've gone to any schools to observe this.
Yeah, no.
Or else you'd know that all of the things they're talking about are bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
That the seminars are about, like having acceptance and tolerance, not teaching and indoctrination.
But, well, see, they believe tolerance is indoctrination.
Yeah.
Tolerance means you have to be the things you have to be tolerant of.
This isn't the exact same argument you're hearing today, but this is the beginning of it. This is the genesis of it.
Yeah.
I think this is some type of bad parenting right here.
I'm not, I don't focus on this kid. Like I said, you could look at me in that cowboy fucking outfit that I had. And then when I wasn't dressed like a cowboy, I was either dressed as a sailor or a fireman.
A construction worker?
I was very close to that. If I could have had an Indian thing, I would have done it.
An Indian? That's see, Ronnie, I understand what you're saying, because sometimes as I'm racking my mind with all of this stuff, I think, what would Ronnie B think?
Yeah.
And Ronnie B would just go, why?
But I don't give a fuck. I don't really care.
Why? I know, and I envy that. But I also think, hey, but if everything is just, it builds up. Like, all right, that's one kid. But there are others. I've seen it.
You're looking.
There's another problem.
Anybody who knows what they actually teach in grade schools, including lots of stuff about race, including how all white people are racist, black people are relentless victims of relentless white racism. It's okay for kids to be if you actually see the books, if you look at the seminars, if you go to the teachers' colleges and see what they're teaching the teachers, you would be astonished. You don't know what they do.
It's crazy.
No, I have no idea.
Well, okay, well, I know.
I mean, if I had,
you don't know. That's all right.
Like even when my kids were young and I went to PTA meetings.
Now nobody
the
knows.
Same
Parents
way
don't know.
I was in school.
Parents don't know.
Just didn't
It was
care.
just like whatever.
Oh, no.
Please.
You didn't care.
This.
Now he's just gonna talk over Ron. I fucking hate Colin.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, at this point, if Anthony was any kind of competent host, he'd pick up on this and address it.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. So naturally, it gets worse.
Now, if you read the books that the teachers are reading on how to teach the kids, it's astonishing. If you look at the people who are on school boards, they are the dumbest, least achievers out there. It's amazing what's going on in schools.
I have seen some of the people that are teaching, and their ideology does seem to be very hard left. We are alt-right. This is what this show is.
Almost too much.
But
Think about Baltimore. 16 high schools in Baltimore. They're black high schools. They don't have one kid, not one person, that can read or write above a third grade level. So there's all these crazy stuff going on in schools.
You know what? Their
Nobody
basketball team
knows.
is in state every year, and I never hear you. There's other ways of being smart.
I guess you got to take the bad with the good, the good with the bad.
God bless Ron for just trying to find some kernel of any possible humor, some satire, or what the word is escaping me, sarcasm, to try to lighten the mood, because he already knows where this is going. Oh no,
Anthony's gonna have a panic attack after this.
He's just saying racist talking points, and Anthony is just letting him get away with everything.
You let him on your show.
You let him on
call
your
him a guest.
Yeah, and because you've seen what happens with Owen, he knows now that Anthony is not going to give him any pushback. So now he realizes, if anyone has to, I'm going to have to.
You have to be the change you want to see in the podcast, Ron.
Like, I didn't want to have to, but shit, it looks like I'm going to have to, because Anthony is incapable.
I'm going to guess you're a constitutionalist.
I'm just a guy who keeps my eyes open.
You're just a regular guy. You're just a regular guy. You
Head on a swivel.
Yeah, I understand. You're a constitutionalist. We put out 600, 700 movies a year in this country, and have for the last 80, 90 years. How come there's never any fucking stuff about the founding fathers, right? How come we've never seen a Ben Franklin movie? We go back to the Civil War. Every year we got to watch a fucking English person doing, you know what I mean? Like in the 1600s or the Middle Ages. We never watch anything about the American Revolution at all.
So like a mainstream feature film.
Yes.
Released in the movie theaters, not like on Nat Geo or something like that.
That
Well
is
observed.
a movie.
So the alternate question is how many black movies, mainstream black movies,
You
have
get
there
back to
been
that black thing
in the
real
last
quick.
3 years?
I mean, yeah, you're right there. Yeah. So you're saying
This is like case A of denial, deceit, and delusion. I'm
That's
sitting right
me?
next to you. That's you.
But I think
Because
I'm
you don't know
mad.
what you're talking about, but that doesn't stop you from talking. So I'm not one of those guys that sits there and listens to bullshit.
Watch him just fucking explode
Yeah.
with his rehearsed things. Deceit, denial, it's all just scripted bullshit that he's rehearsed.
What a ghoul.
Yeah, and he's just screaming now at Ron for
Waving
just,
his hands in his face.
just making a joke.
Like we both have to be in frame. Like, be considerate.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck happened?
Flagellations.
Well, first of all, don't fucking come in here like we're on the same fucking level with this. I was asked to be on his fucking show. I wouldn't be talking about race if it was up to me.
Because you don't know anything what you're talking
What the
about.
fuck would
Then
I
why are you
be talking
talking? If you don't know what you're
I'll
talking
fucking stay
about,
fucking
if
quiet.
you don't know
Because
what you're
Anthony
talking about,
invited-
why say it?
I fucking made a joke because that's why Anthony fucking had me here.
Guess I
But I'm
forgot
not-
to laugh.
What's that?
Guess I forgot to laugh.
I don't give a fuck, dude. I'm not fucking here to fucking be angry all the time. I'm telling Ant to go back to the way he used to be.
What was that, Anthony?
He was one of the funniest fucking people in the country.
I'm still hilarious. Oh my God, what a week.
Wow. Just,
Oh,
I thought you
God.
paused it.
No!
It was so still.
Oh, God. Okay. Colin looking over, saying, what was that, Anthony?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Now,
Are you a fucking traitor?
yeah, it's like,
Are you a race traitor?
that's so fucking
Did you used
ba-
to be a race traitor?
Exactly. It's like, what kind of show am I on? Well, wait, did you used to be? And just I'm still hilarious. Proceeds to say absolutely nothing funny and just sit there awkwardly.
Silence.
Oh, God.
I'm still funny.
Yeah, this is Anthony now retreating. He doesn't know what to do.
Let me look in my radio guy handbook. How you handle this situation.
Well, what is the fucking problem? That I made a joke?
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
what the
show?
problem is. Ronnie does what Ronnie does, and Colin does what Colin does, and oil and water, I guess.
What am I, the enemy?
No, Ronnie never.
One of us is the butt of the joke.
Yeah, one of
You
us
knew
has-
both of us would be on here, and you knew we would conflict.
One of us is going to have to be on the outs. Who is
Yeah.
it?
I have a
Turn around and fucking...
Ronnie. Come on, I have a deep love and respect for Ron Bennington over the course of the years. Me and Ronnie have been compatriots and been on the battle lines of many a radio station. So no, of course not. You're not the enemy at all. You're not the enemy. Colin has his points. I think he's very.
If it would help for me to be quiet
No.
during his points, I'll
No,
gladly do it.
not at all. Colin has his point of view on things, and some people share them, some people don't. And he's very passionate about it. And
Well, Colin and I were going to go AARP fucking boxing here a second ago.
it was.
Yeah, Ron tries to make a joke. And as we've learned from how this episode goes, you just don't do that. Because that doesn't work.
It was going to be the world's oldest boxing match.
Would have been the world's shortest boxing match.
There's
You
not.
tough guy?
Come on, there's no reason to even insinuate that physical violence need take place on this program. My God. Oh, this fucking week already, and it's a short fuck week. Just tragedy after tragedy. I mean, what happened? We were having fun.
Yeah, I thought we were. I guess I said a couple things.
Yeah.
I got a little out of line.
No, Ronnie.
I will let you guys speak.
No, Ronnie, please. I'm not going to have you just sit here and not speak. And oh my goodness. Okay, hold on. I know what to do.
Are you going to do your live
The
read?
old Opie. I'll do the old Opie trick. Take a call.
Oh,
Tom.
Yeah, hey. Man, I'm listening. It feels like I'm back at my Thanksgiving dinner with my family here.
I'm sweating. I'm literally sweating here.
what are you worried about? What went wrong?
No, I just I don't want bad ill will. I don't want ill will.
So yeah, he
Then
says,
why did you put Ron in the situation?
why did you do that? You knew it. We get to it later and we find out this wasn't even a booking decision of Anthony's. I don't know what he does. Like, you're not booking the guests.
Yeah.
You barely have any control over what happens in the studio.
Yeah.
You straight up say, I'm going to pull an Opie trick because this is what Opie used to do in these situations.
Right.
You're not equipped to do this. You're equipped to have shows on when everybody agrees with you and you don't have to deal with conflict. He does say there are a couple episodes, like he mentions an episode where a comedian, Nick DiPaolo, was on with Bill Nye the Science Guy, and Nick DiPaolo called him an asshole and challenged him on climate change or whatever. But I guess it didn't go anywhere because I don't think Bill Nye is the kind of person who would go along with any kind of altercation like that.
Yeah.
I doubt he would have pulled the fucking Ron, oh, you think you're a fucking tough guy?
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, what's gonna happen here? So this probably is the first time he ever had to deal with something like this.
I was hoping to hear Ron talk about Elvis Presley going to Graceland. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah, get rid of your caller because we can fix this. Here's the thing. You invited this gentleman on for a reason, right?
Yes. When
Have the conversation. I could be quiet. I don't have to be a wise ass and jump in. Have the conversation.
No, but there's the spaghetti on the wall. That's what my dad used to do during arguments, and I would cry.
You don't have to be nervous, all right?
He told a story.
And now it's a meme.
Now it's a meme of his mom and his dad got in a big fight, and his mom was cooking spaghetti, and there's a plate or whatever, and his dad took the plate of spaghetti and threw it against the wall.
Very American Beauty moment.
And he was just sitting there crying. And yeah, now the producer has found it to be very funny to mock this.
I mean, he did make this bed.
Yeah, he did. So yeah, it's spaghetti on the wall all over again.
The second you get a feeling like you did yesterday about your mom, you get nervous. Don't. Talk to your guest. What would you like to ask your guest?
In 20 years of doing this, I don't have a clue.
And
don't have a clue.
What's your book about?
What to do here?
I could talk about my stuff, from now until tomorrow morning and without stopping.
Because I don't give a fuck and I can't read a room and I'm just here to promote myself and further myself and not give a fuck about anybody else.
Yeah.
Colin's quick willingness to go, I'll talk about my book some more if you want me to talk about my book. I don't give a fuck about the host and his feelings or emotions at all. I don't want to address that.
Yeah, he's a shitty guest, and Anthony's a shitty host.
Ron just said his mother died, and Colin had absolutely no reaction to that. No, oh shit, really?
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck.
I'll tell you what was interesting. Well, if you want to talk about my stuff, I mean, there was a big story this morning in the paper about how in Baltimore they think they need more cops. I was prepared to talk about why that's kind of a ruse. So and my book is about black violence. I document it all over the country, how it's wildly out of proportion. That's the crazy part, but that's the one crazy part. But the other crazy part is how reporters and public officials are constantly ignoring it, denying it, condoning, excusing, encouraging, and even lying about it. Again, I document this stuff.
Yeah, I don't know really what goes into that.
Yeah,
because you're very passionate about that.
Want to know what your expertise is, and when it comes to statistical data sets, you need to have a reliable statistician, or at least reliable method of collecting data.
Yeah, and what your sources are.
Yeah, if you're your only source, that's sort of funny. So
I'm just a guy with my eyes open. I'm just calling it like I see it. I don't care about what possibly led to things or a societal
context. Do not keep taken into account. No, I know.
Just writing what I observe.
I'm just showing you the numbers.
Yeah.
People love to pull that shit when they pull up this kind of stuff where it's like,
oh god,
I'm just talking about the numbers, and it's like, if I were to say that 100% of guys named John were fucking douchebags, would you take that at face value because of the number I said?
Yeah, because I just threw a number.
I gave you a number.
And going back to that one episode, it was episodes ago, but Anthony was talking about, Opie says I'm a racist. Well, pull up and see how many shootings there were in Chicago over Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, right.
It has nothing to do with who shot who or anything.
Yeah, no.
It's just how many shootings there were.
Yeah.
And that was enough for him. You'll find the proof you were looking for.
Yeah, exactly. And that people love to use data for that.
Yeah, it's like you can't go by that all the time, though.
The cops say there's going to be a big problem here in Camden. No, there's not going to be a problem. I promise you. Guarantee it. These kids are great kids. Day after, and he said, I promise you, no problem. Day after Christmas, 1,000 black people rampaging through the mall, destroying property, defying police, fighting people, all on video.
I'm going to make a corporate decision. I'm going to make a suggestion that I think would work out. We have gravely made an error in mixing of guests today.
I don't
Colin,
think so
wait,
at all.
no, Ronnie. Colin, would you be okay coming back at a later date?
Of course.
Very good.
Colin, sit down for 1 second. I just want one thing, me and you. How would you solve this? Colin takes over. How are you going to solve this problem?
Let me ask you a question.
No, I'm going to ask.
Okay, here's the.
Did you look at Anthony? He was so frustrated. He thought he was out of the woods, and as soon as Ron was like, "No, sit back down," he just went like, well, I'm just gonna sit back. I'm just gonna let this play out, I guess. This is suddenly out of my control. I made an executive command decision.
Way too late.
And y'all just said no. And I said,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this isn't just like, oh,
Never
you
mind.
booked two comedians that have opposing things. No, these are dangerous talking points.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if you have someone who's opposed to dangerous talking points, you can't just shut that down.
No.
Okay, I'll answer the question with a question. If Anthony were outside standing in the rain, how would you solve that problem?
I would bring him inside.
I'd tell them to get the hell out of the rain. So if black people are going around committing an unbelievable level of violence wildly out of proportion, why isn't the simplest solution the best? If you clonk somebody on the head, why aren't you going to jail? But yet we hear on I document how we hear, like in Philadelphia, they say black people are relentless victims of relentless white racism. So they're not putting black people in jail for this anymore.
Have you been to any jails? It's filled with black people.
I've heard that clip. I think you showed me that clip.
Yeah. I was just going to say, some of this might seem familiar.
Yeah, it's...
There were multiple times where you hear Anthony try to start a sentence and not be able to. I think he did try to go to the phones there. That's why you heard a dial tone. He desperately wants any kind of out, and he can't find one. So, yeah, man, you might as well just let this ride out. That's all you can do.
Why?
But for the reason that you said, there are black people in jails.
Why is that?
What
There's only two reasons. One, they're there because of white racism.
Right.
Or two, they're there because they got caught committing some very nasty crimes. It's hard to go to jail. You know that.
No, not really.
Oh,
People go to jail all the time.
Very hard to go to jail.
What you're saying is we need to put all the black people in jail.
No, just the ones who commit crime.
I think everybody's on the same side there. Anybody who commits a crime goes to jail. So instead, I don't want you to.
No, I honestly.
You come all the way up here from Delaware?
No, I was up here anyway.
Yeah. Honestly, I just feel I'm making a command decision here that we will have Colin back at a later juncture. Thank you, Colin.
I could come back at a later.
No, Ronnie, please, come on now. We need to do this 2018 starting out great.
Mom dies on New Year's. Now I got to deal with this.
Ron asking, and I guess there's a clip of this where he's asking, how would this have gone if I wasn't here?
Yeah, like how would you have handled if he was talking about these things and I wasn't here to give pushback?
He knows that Anthony wouldn't have actually given pushback. One, either because he agrees, or two, because he doesn't have a fucking backbone and just agrees with anything anybody says.
Yeah, I mean, if you do that long enough, that becomes your talking points. If you don't push back on it, and you
he
don't
knows what not to agree with, just not what to agree with. He's like, if it's left, I'm not going to agree with it. I don't care what you say.
Yeah, I think the still frame before the clip starts is great. Just this dude, wide-eyed, not sure what the fuck is happening. That's Garrett, his producer, who used to work on the WNEW show, and I'm not sure who that is. But yeah, they're just like, what the fuck is happening here?
One dead mother and a fucking crazy-ass show.
Why does that make you so uncomfortable? This is what we always did our whole life. It was radio.
Oh, but this is... I was always the one that could sit back and make jokes. Opie had to deal with this. Now I finally understand what Opie did.
We're in all.
That's a joke, but yeah, you're right, man. Like, you are realizing that, yeah, Opie was able to do things that you are incapable of handling. Good point, finally realizing that.
Yep.
We're an alt-right show. That's us now. We're taking on the minorities, the sexual minorities. Look at, there's children dressed up.
Ronnie.
Wearing feathers. We've got to do something about it. We need our guns.
Well, that I agree with. No, Ronnie, we are definitely not an alt-right show.
Well,
don't fool me.
If you weren't in 2018, you sure as fuck are now.
He's like, but now that you mention it...
Maybe we haven't tapped into that avenue enough. Maybe the problem is having you on. Maybe the problem isn't people like Colin. Maybe I shouldn't have liberals on the show ever again.
I could be honest with you there. Over the course of the past even couple of years, or at least a year, I have really tried to rein back a lot of things that people have suggested, you know. And I think I have.
That's such bullshit.
Yeah.
No, you fucking haven't.
You've got
Again,
no backbone.
If that is the case in 2018, something changed. Or you're lying because Ron is there. That's the only thing that makes sense. Because no fucking way have you, by this point, reined anything back when, again, please, anyone, check his Twitter.
Yeah.
All he does all day is rant about black people. It's all day. And it's no other race either.
Yeah.
He only goes after black people. When someone had tweeted about a voice actor who got fired for like sexual misconduct or sexual abuse, I forget what, and he's been fired from a bunch of shit, and he went down and partied with the Compound Media crew and Anthony and Chrissy Marr and all them. I posted the picture, tweeted the picture of Anthony and Vic, I know his first name anyway, hanging out. And I described Anthony as a white supremacist. And someone who was a listener of the show back in the day, not ours, says, I don't know if it's fair to call Anthony a white supremacist, but did go on to accuse Anthony of being a pedophile. So I did push him back a little bit on that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, I don't know if there's any concrete proof of that.
Yeah. Might maybe be careful saying that on a public forum.
That's what I was saying. I was like, look. And he was like, well, Opie used to joke about it all the time. I was like, I know, but jokes are one thing.
Yeah.
You can't, but I do think it's very safe to say that even if I will concede to you, maybe, what if Anthony is not a white supremacist himself? He watches Nick Fuentes on a nightly basis.
Yeah.
Who is a white supremacist.
He supports a white supremacist.
He does a show on a weekly basis with a white supremacist.
What does that make you? Yeah,
if you're willing to support and platform and champion these things, you're no different.
Man.
You were just talking to Owen about, if you're not a rapist, but if you stand by and you let rapists by, you're no better.
Yeah, as if he gives a shit about rapists.
Exactly. But that's the exact same thing. And Anthony was like, yeah, you're just smiling along. Yeah, then that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're not a white supremacist, you're just letting these people get away with it completely unchecked. You're no better then. So yeah, I wanted to address that. Just be like, no, man. Like at this point, I don't think there's any denying it. Maybe in 2018 there was, but not anymore.
Whoever booked Ronnie and Colin on the same show, I'm gonna fucking kill you. Because I never would have done that. Don't make me cry. I never would have done that.
Wait, if you never would have done that, why did you let the show happen once you got there and saw what was going on? Shouldn't you have shut it down before it even started?
A competent host.
Don't you have some control of your life?
Someone in the back, you can't really hear it, but they go, it was Allie who booked the guests. This is the only reason I knew who Allie was. Rewind a few episodes ago when Gavin was talking about blacking out at Anthony's house at a party that he brought his kids to.
Right.
And his wife was super pissed about it. Allie is the one who drove Gavin's kids home.
Oof. that was the altercation there.
You get nervous around that shit, huh? For a guy who's got guns all the time, you don't like it when two fucking guys chest up. Neither me or him was thrown. You saw that, right?
Oh.
This would be us at a fucking Wawa today. Neither one of us thought we were going to punch each other.
I didn't think it was going to come to fisticuffs.
Right.
But there was general aggression going on there.
Right.
That,
He felt like he was being mocked, and I felt like he told me to shut up, but that's not a big deal.
But I think he did tell you to shut up.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm
But I
don't think it was.
I can't have that.
It's not that big a deal.
It's a big deal because it's my show. It's supposed to be.
But your show seems to be, if I'm going to see right, it's everyone has to agree.
No.
I mean, it sure seems like that.
Yeah.
I think it's worth pointing out the most obvious bit where Anthony says, it's my show, or at least it's supposed to be. It is, man!
Yeah, what?
Like,
you didn't answer to anybody.
Yeah, and he doesn't. So clearly, it's like you could have put your foot down about the booking, but you didn't. It's like you knew all day and you've been dreading it, but you just didn't do anything about it?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you be uncomfortable?
I hate uncomfortable.
Is this the same reason for the last 5 years you didn't go see your mom?
Probably. It would have been very uncomfortable. Although she wouldn't have known who I was. So
But you would have known.
I would have known what? Look at a woman that has no idea. It's just an empty shell. Why do I want to see that? I remember, I have a fond memory of like the last few times I saw her, and it was great. Why do I want to then, all right, let me insert this memory of, why do I want that?
Yeah, just the faces Ron's making. Just,
Yep, that says a lot.
It's a lot to think about, dude.
You refuse to look terrible things and sad things and awful things in the face.
Yeah, and in turn, refuse to do any kind of change in your own life.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's that going to take?
How'd that
And
happen?
I tell you something, you panic, and what an unwoke person would say was a girlish thing. You got nervous like a girl would get, but not a modern lady, a years ago girl.
Oh.
Yes, there was a little
I
bit
go, oh.
I wasn't thrown by it at all, and I don't think he was.
No, you weren't. But then again, this is my show.
Right.
And you're a dear friend. And I don't
First of all, that's the first time you've ever said that. That's very nice.
I don't want to put...
Oh. That was rough. That's very nice of you to say. Thank you. Oof.
I think people in this country aren't going to be happy until the other side is dead.
Yes, I think you're right.
Is that what you're after?
No, but here's another thing, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Do you really think I'm this mad at everything in the
I
world?
don't know.
You
don't know anymore.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you used to come in and do stuff at NEW all the time, and we would just fucking have a ball. You were never angry about anything.
Yeah, I went through a little angry phase. I'm not angry. What do I got to be angry about? Honestly, I'm not. I'm not. Like I get I get concerned at certain things. You watch the news and see things, but I know the news is all bullshit too. And half of what we're disseminating and coming up with our opinions is bullshit. So I'm not basing it on that. If you look at my Twitter feed, it's gone down to barely anything. I just don't care.
It's gone down to barely anything.
Barely anything. I'd never tweet anymore. And I like how he goes, Ronnie, do you really think I'm this angry all the time? And Ron just goes, I don't know anymore.
Yeah, like...
Ron is seriously... I'm going to assume that Ronnie, and we say this joke all the time when we watch wrestling and stuff, that he doesn't watch the product.
Yeah.
That Ronnie has no idea to what level, because he even says, like, when he was sitting in with Owen, he was surprised at how things have changed and how Anthony has completely changed personality-wise.
Maybe what you really need is Open Jimmy back. Maybe that's where you're at. You're happy.
I think Opie and Jimmy would...
Not either just one of them, both.
Oh, Jesus Christ. No. I love Jimmy. I would do a show with Jimmy in a second. Opie, not so much. Opie brought me a lot of aggravation.
Well, you're not going to do a show with Jimmy because he's got Sam. You know what I mean? He's got Sam.
I wanted to point that out because when I read into that, it sounds like you can't do a show on your own.
Mm-hmm.
It's like...
I don't think you can.
You want to be the funny guy, like Jimmy, but you also want to be the guy who can run a show, like Opie? You can't. You can't do both. You can't do one at all, in my opinion. But it's like, you need to be... Like, when we were talking about... What was it? It was that Mike the Snare video about Maroon 5. And when they got signed to a label... They said, Adam Levine, you can't be a guitar player and a lead singer. You need to focus your attention on being a lead singer. Anthony needs somebody else in there to be the guy who steers the ship.
Yeah.
Because he cannot do that. He can't stretch himself out to do both roles.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree with him to an extent of, especially at this point, he would not be able to work with Opie again. Like, that bridge has been burned, and... Like he says, Opie caused him a lot of aggravation, so he wouldn't be willing to work with him again. And at this point, and still in 2022, they've been renewed for another number of years. Jim is locked into a contract working with Sam.
Oh, okay.
Whether or not that show is any good, I've heard different opinions on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure Ant would love to do a show with Jimmy. But still, even with that, when Ron says, "I think you need both," you would still just then have two comedians who would not be able to run a show.
Oh, yeah.
They would still need that element. And when people point out how shows back in the day, when you have the three of them, how Opie's not doing anything. There's even a whole YouTube channel called Nopey that actually takes clips of the show and edits Opie out of them.
Interesting.
So you don't hear him at all. It's just Anthony, Jimmy, and whatever guests there might be.
Okay.
Because they insist on whenever he says it's so cringy or he's never funny. And it's like, what y'all don't understand, though, is the reasons y'all have these clips to edit is because of what Opie was doing.
Yeah.
What Opie was not saying. Like, him being able to steer a ship and operate the show as a show. Because people always say, like, Opie's always throwing it to phones or trying to switch topics or go to commercial break. These are things you need to do.
Yeah.
It's like, I understand sometimes he's like, he hurts the flow. The guys are riffing, they're joking, and Opie is like a brick wall and he's stopping the fun. It's like, but you need the structure.
Yeah, you need someone to steer the boat.
Yeah, it's like you can't have both. So that always frustrates me. It's like, I understand if you think he's not funny. I hear clips all the time, and I'm like, oh, God, Opie's not bringing anything to this.
Mm-hmm.
But he's bringing something you don't see.
Yeah.
And Ron is very true with that. And I think, yeah, you would need both to have a functioning show.
Mm-hmm.
To me, you got to ride the wave, brother. When the wave starts to break, you ride it.
I got to ride it?
Yeah.
Like Point Break?
In this case, you were like, you're Point Break. You're like, come on, guys, let's get out of the water.
Let's paddle out.
Yeah, we don't want to be in the water.
I don't know. That's me. I think if you've watched or listened to the O&A show or anything, I'm always that guy. Mm-hmm. Like that is, for the abuse Opie takes, that is something he did. He was the guy that could sit there in an uncomfortable situation and just keep it going and play it out. And I'd be there like, oh my fucking God, I can't sit here.
Then maybe this isn't for you.
Yeah.
That's the conclusion I come to, is that maybe you're just not cut out for this.
Maybe just spin CDs and discs. Maybe not have a talk show.
That's what he wants. He wants an avenue to express himself. But at that point, that's already Twitter. Like, you can do that on Twitter. You don't need a show for that.
All you're doing is expressing everybody else.
Yeah. And I mean, if it is like he said earlier, it's like, yeah, you get to do this show and have people tell you they like you. That's why you like doing this.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably part of it. But until next episode, whatever it's going to be about, I'm not sure yet. We'll leave you with the sounds of...
dying.
Sure.
Oh, I need my bike. was a fun one. That was really fun.